Coming to you from Blue Crew Studio in Temecula, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show. Taking you inside the lives of the legends and leaders in moto and action sports. Today's guest is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart. SKDA is the leader in motorcycle graphics. Driven by a combined passion for art and motorcycles, SKDA has become a global leader in the off-road motorcycle space. Their graphics can be spotted from a mile away with a unique design that blends speed and creativity. SKDA, search and supply of true art within moto. Troy Lee Designs, built for the world's fastest racers. TLD blends elite level protection with industry-leading style and performance. Moto, bike, helmet paint, casual wear, whatever your passion, Troy Lee Designs is waiting for you on the next level. Nihilo Concepts, enhance your riding experience with superior products like the start-stop conversion kit, fuel petcocks, frame grip tape, lever grip donuts, secondary on switch, billet foot pegs, billet throttle housings, and so much more. Nihilo Concepts produces exceptional products, all of which are made right here in America. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here at the Whiskey Throttle Show in Blue Crew Studios. And we've got a special guest today. This guy's been in the industry a long time. 30-year career at Kawasaki, is still currently working for the Green Team by way of the Pro Circuit Kawasaki race team. He's their parts manager and all-around Swiss Army knife over there, I suppose. It's Norm Bigelow. And if you guys aren't familiar with the name, settle in. This is going to be a history lesson. This guy's literally done it all and watched this sport from the very beginning, Norm. So thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks for having me. I really enjoy this podcast. They're great.
Yeah, well, I enjoy doing them for this exact reason. Like, I get to learn so much and get to know folks that I know, but, folks don't get to sit around and talk for 3 hours. So we're going to do that today. Well, we'll see if we make it 3 hours. But we start off with the Nihilo Concepts front-end chatter. You guys are familiar with their products. Frame tape, grip donuts, all kinds of really cool titanium and billet machine parts. They make great stuff, and we appreciate their support. Let's start with what you're doing now. Your title at PC, is it parts manager? What do you? I know you handle all their parts and stuff like that in inventory, but
I pretty much don't have a title. I just, worked with Mitch when I was at the factory Kawasaki, and he was part of my duties. So I supply the race team with all their parts, all their parts from Japan, all the production parts, whatever it takes to keep the bikes running.
Okay.
And that's a lot with how many riders there are. So I pretty much do all the inventory. If there's a need for something fabricated or whatever, if I can handle it, I do that. Make sure the vendor stuff is all there, and just everything it takes to run a race team behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And every race team has a guy like what I do. Someone has to.
There's a lot of work to that.
Yeah, it's. I always kind of tell the mechanics there, they complain because the box is empty for piston rings or something. I go, but look around, there's hundreds of other boxes that are filled up, and all I hear about is the one that's empty. It takes a lot to keep all that rolling, and this is all done old school inventory. There's no scanning or anything like that. It's all box is empty, write it down, and I'll get the parts
on a notepad. I'm still a pen and paper guy. I guess I didn't make that transition to all going through with an iPad and whatever.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's all old school, just like an old dealership in the 70s or something.
Microfiche.
I believe it or not, I still have a set at home. I use a lot on restoring bikes.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's still how you look that stuff up.
Yeah.
How closely do you follow the racing now? I suppose being part of Mitch's program, you're watching what's going on with them. I mean, are you every weekend tuning in? Did you?
Yeah, of course. I kind of quit going to the races a while ago. Got over that, and TV's great now, so I can just watch it on TV and complain about the bikes or the riders or the lines. You know, that's a bad line. You're going to
Yeah.
get and then it happens or whatever. But
I probably am in the same boat as you. Like, it's gotten to be such a scene at the race. I don't really enjoy going much anymore. I love seeing old friends, and so I'll make a few. But man, it's the TV coverage is better, and you don't have to deal with the traffic, the crowds,
exactly.
you know.
As you know, I'm almost 70 years old, so I don't like traffic. I don't like getting up early. I don't like lines. You know, not having the right pit pass, and you can't go through this gate or whatever. So,
how do you feel about people on your lawn? Piss you off?
what's that?
Do you get mad at people on your lawn?
Oh, I don't care about that part. But
all right.
but I live next door to a tennis court.
Yeah.
And pickleball's the new craze, right?
It's loud.
Oh my God! And it used to be real mellow, and now I can't. I come home sometimes. There's no place to park in my front yard because pickleballers have taken over. But
that's a valid angering point, because it is obnoxious when you're not playing. All right, hey, this is be sure to check out whiskeythrottlemedia.com, you guys. We got all kinds of really cool stuff, including vintage bikes, but man, moto, off-road, dual sport, all kinds of stuff, merch. If you guys are looking for some coaching, go to Elevate Motocross on Instagram and check that out. Really cool platform with Emig, Rhino, Grant Langston, Johnny Campbell, and myself. It's a great spot to go and improve your riding, become a safer and better rider. Let's get to our guest story. It's brought to you by Yamaha, and I want to jump into it. Tell me about where you grew up, because I know even myself, I thought you were related to the Bigelows in Michigan.
yeah, well, that happens a lot.
I'm sure that.
And I've never met them. You know,
Is that right?
But it's always like, oh, you used to ride a Husky or a Yamaha or something.
Yeah.
No,
that was
the other
guys.
Those were the fast Bigelows. I'm the slow one from Southern California.
So where'd you grow up? El Toro, you said?
I grew up in Torrance, South Torrance, which is Walteria.
Okay.
My dad was a native California, you know. His dad had a ranch in Walteria in the early days. So around Walteria, Redondo Beach, Palos Verdes area,
Okay.
which when I was 9, I believe, we sold my grandfather's ranch and moved to Laguna Hills in southern Orange County, which was the middle of nowhere. So I went from a city to the middle of nowhere. There was a new housing tract there with 5 streets on it. No kids, just.
So were you bummed? Were you like, this sucks?
Well, in 9, I wasn't sure what happened. There's no baseball. It's just a bunch of fields and cows.
Yeah. What years would this have been, for reference?
1966.
Okay.
So.
And you were showing me pictures of the surf spot there, Dana Point.
Yep.
And I mean, it looks completely different, you know? And so I love hearing what it was like back in that era, because you guys could probably go ride out in the hills right from your place.
Well, there was no kids, right? But across the street was a family. And one day, this kid my age goes by on a mini bike. I'd never seen a mini bike. I'm like, what the heck? Is like a lawnmower with wheels on it or something? And so I made friends with him because there was no other kids. So his name was Doug Hammer. And we were best friends, rode double on that mini bike everywhere, out in the hills, up the streets. I mean, just, it was great as being a kid.
Yeah.
And then a little later on, another family moved in, and they had 2 boys, mini bikes and a tote goat, which is a big mini bike.
Okay.
And that person was named Morris Malone. So now we got 3 kids on mini bikes ripping around. I didn't have one, but we'd ride double. And then, of course, I had to try and get my parents to get me one. So eventually I got enough money. They made me buy my own mini bike.
Okay.
So I mowed lawns, whatever it took. Got one. So the 3 of us were now running amok through the hills.
Yeah.
Well, Morris became a really, really good expert rated racer in the early days. But we, his dad was kind of an old hot rodder, bought a Kawasaki 238 motocross bike, scramble bike before motocross, and got a smaller one for the kids, a 120 Cowie. So we kind of graduated that, learned how to ride, shift, can't touch the ground.
Yeah.
So we transferred from mini bikes to motorcycles.
What were the mini bikes? Was it I think
like
a Taco or
Morris had a little Indian,
okay,
which was a real little thing, 3 horsepower. I think Doug had a Fox. I think it was a Fox mini bike.
Okay.
So yeah, we used to ride them to the beach, to Dana Point.
That's crazy.
Which is an all-day adventure. So
Yeah.
we'd go down to the gas station, and we'd wait till someone filled their car up, and then there's always gas in the hose, right? So
you were just getting a little bits.
you drain it. Well, Briggs and Stratton would go all day on
Yeah.
it. So we drain it, get the tanks filled up for free, and then away we'd go.
That's brilliant.
But,
I love the resourcefulness.
A couple times we'd go all the way to Dana Point, which is 10 miles maybe, throw them in the bushes and then go body surfing,
Yeah.
and then ride back. I don't think we had helmets, anything. So,
Oh, I'm sure not. Yeah.
So that kind of got the ball rolling. There wasn't anything better than, baseball. No.
Yeah.
Had to be a mini bike. I did surf a little bit. Morris and the gang, we'd surf at Dana Point. So this is before the harbor was there. Killer Dana, they called it. There was.
Why did they call? Was there a reason they called it that? I've always wondered.
I don't know if anybody got killed or not, but the surf was in certain swells.
It was killer,
was huge, yeah, and it was way outside break, kind of a Hawaiian style break, and then there was shore break areas. So that's where we would surf. I wasn't a good swimmer, and no leashes.
Oh.
So 10-foot boards, so you'd fall off the board and you'd still land on it because it was so big, so as long as you could grab onto
Hang on
the
for
thing,
dear life.
yeah, you were safe. But so I wasn't a great surfer because I couldn't swim that well, but enough to where, I grew up at the beach, so I knew everything about how to catch a wave and which ones not to catch and blah, blah, blah. So surfing was a big part. Beach lifestyle was a big part of my life growing up as a kid.
It's funny how much Dana Point's changed because I don't know if it's the jetty or what, but now it's like a really mellow kind of Waikiki style wave. I take my girls there all the time.
Yeah. Well, later we'll talk about jet skiing, and I'll talk about how big Dana Point can get if it hits just right. But
Even still?
yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So do you have any siblings?
2 sisters.
Okay. Younger or older?
They were older.
Okay.
One of my middle sister, Marcia, was killed in a car crash.
Oh.
She worked at Kawasaki before I did. So she was
right?
the secretary at Kawasaki. So she was the one that told me they're hiring there, so that's when I started working. It was through her.
Oh, wow.
But my other sister, she lives in Dana Point.
Okay.
Kids and then, family.
So when you were younger, you've already kind of answered this question, but I think anyone that experiences the freedom of a motorcycle, everything else is, I'll play football with, whatever, if all the guys are playing it, but it's like, it's motorcycles, right? Was that you, or did you play other sports? Did you do anything else?
I played baseball. My dad really wanted me to be a baseball player.
Okay.
And he was really into it. And the mini bike thing ruined his,
Ruined his dream.
It was like, all right, if you want to do that, you do it on your own. You pay for it. You learn the hard way how to do it. So, yeah, the mitt was gone.
Collecting dust in the garage.
And it was, there was no magazines. I hadn't found Cycle News or anything like that yet. But Morris and his dad, pretty much, his dad wanted Morris to be a world champion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's funny because I listened to your podcast with Bob Hanna, and you asked him a great question, who influences? And he said Morris Malone.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
And you said, I've never heard of him, right? And I was like, oh, my God, he said Morris.
Wow.
One of my best friends growing up. And he said because he was kind of making a living at it in the early CMC days, let's say, racing night races. And he had some good rides with Mako and Yamaha and stuff. So that's the same.
Oh, what a cool connection.
Yeah. And
I didn't pick that up because I'd never heard the name. I was like,
yeah, you wouldn't unless you were my age or been around. But his dad pushed him really hard, and they rode some flat track and scrambled. Elsinore had a famous scrambles track that was it was nuts. Anyone that raced Elsinore night scrambles, will tell you it was like a cross between motorcycle racing and the Burning Man. It was even Mitch went to it, and
really?
Talks about it was just went all night.
Where was it in reference to like where the lake is now? Was it near the lake?
Yeah, the I guess the off ramp that goes to Canyon Lake.
Railroad Canyon.
Railroad Canyon. There's a bridge that goes across. It's over, like if you're going south, it'd be on the left side. And there was a shooting range there for a while. And parts of the track were still there for a long time.
Huh.
It was huge. Like everyone would come there and race,
Wow.
all the Ascot guys. And it went all night, bonfires and partying.
Oh, geez.
But so Morris started racing there, and then I'd hang out with him and his dad. We go, we're just kids. So he got involved with the early motocross when CMC got started.
Okay.
As well, before that, there was a promoter group called ACA. It was mostly road racing, but they started doing motocross. So he did all those early races. But there's a little track by our house called El Toro Speedway, and they had midget cars on the weekends. During the week, there was flat track and TT. And I think the track was built in the 50s, just a small, short track.
Is it where the air base is now, like the helicopter?
No, it's kind of Lake Forest off-ramp,
Okay.
right alongside the freeway.
Okay.
And it was huge. Like, all the Ascot guys would come there.
I remember hearing about that, obviously, before my time. But
and they'd race the Wednesday night stuff and get money. So Morris raced a lot of that on a motocross bike. I think it was a AJS 250. Nobbies,
And you would just go and hang out?
Yeah,
and
but he
watch
was
them.
a little kid. He was like 15 or something, and he would battle with the Ascot guys, and they'd get all mad because he'd win sometimes. So then later they made the track a little bit and made a motocross. So it was a Friday night motocross.
Okay.
So Wednesday TT, Friday motocross, and then the cars on the weekends. Big turnout. So all the local motocross kids, we would all go there.
Okay.
So a lot of the big name guys that were in the 70s
They'd show up.
would ride El Toro.
Why do you think, there was racing every night back then and racers and crowds showing up, and now there's obviously nothing during the week, and even races on the weekends, was there just not as much to do back then, so it was something fun to go do, and now there's a million different things? What do you think the reason is?
Yeah, that's hard to say, but the sport was its beginning, motocross, so a lot of kids were getting into
Excited about it.
And yeah, then they needed a place, so it really worked out. And Stu with CMC was on the front of all that, so he was doing Lions and Irwindale, and he didn't do El Toro. I think Bob Maynard, who
Oh,
I
know
think
Bob Maynard, okay.
he ran the El Toro stuff.
I was blown away to hear Stu Peters tell me he basically built Carlsbad. Like, he laid that track out.
Yeah. So the early ACA races that I'd go with Morris, weren't held on the big track because I think Stu had that or was building it. I can't remember, but so ACA had their own little track.
Like that Grand Prix track kind of over closer to the drag strip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the little valley there
Yeah.
and kind of went around.
Okay.
You know, but ACA didn't last that long, and CMC just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, anyway, so that's the Morris.
Okay.
Me hanging out, wishing I had a motorcycle because my parents said it's too dangerous. You can have a mini bike. You know, well, as my friends are graduating in motorcycles, I'm still riding around with them on this mini bike. Well, I ended up getting a faster one with a Hodaka engine in it.
Okay.
So I could somewhere keep up with them, but and I'd ride their bikes whenever I could.
Were you doing just odd jobs, like you said, still mowing lawns and that kind of thing? to make money?
Yeah. And then I had a paper route that ended up being pretty big, so I made quite a bit of money with the paper route.
All right.
But I had to get up at 3 a.m. or something on Sundays. So really had no transportation. If I had a motorcycle, I don't know how I'd get it to the track. So I built some really stupid fast mini bikes. And at Saddleback, there was a club being started, mini bike racing. Southern California Mini Bike Karting Association, right there.
Oh, okay.
So Jeff Ward's dad, a lot of the dads needed a place for mini bikes to race. So they built this cool track with the Saddleback Park people. It was like a scrambles track. And it wasn't easy. It had uphills, downhills, S-turns, off-cambered, all this stuff. And they started holding races. So I went and watched a few, and then there was a kid on a mini bike that had a McCullough go-kart engine, which if you've ever seen one of those, they're just rocket ships. It's like a chainsaw motor, but they built racing versions for go-karts that would go 70, 80 miles an hour.
Oh, geez.
And no transmission, it's centrifugal clutch. So I saw that kid racing one, and I go, I got to build one of those. So I saved up my money, built this thing.
In what chassis? You just
It was
built
like
it?
a little, it's called a Zebra Trail chassis, which was a Taiwanese copy of a mini trail, Honda C50 or whatever they were. But you could put it had different Briggs & Stratton motors, so McCullough would fit right in it. So I built this thing.
Had to be a death trap, right? I mean, they're not made to go 70.
Complete death trap, right? 8-inch wheels. And, you know, my parents were like, oh, look what he's building in the garage. So the first day I get the thing running, straight exhaust, loud as crap, you know, just no power bands, just rev to the moon. And it would 4-stroke, you know, it'd run, and then it'd clean out, and then it'd hit like a ton of bricks, you know. So I get the thing running. I don't know what gearing was on it. I go up the street in front of the house, and it comes on the pipe and flips me over. Just blood everywhere, just the bike scattering right in front of my parents. So basically they decided, you know, a motorcycle might be safer than this thing.
Yeah.
Because I could beat most of the kids up the street on it, on their 100cc.
Right.
Hodakas or whatever, just smoke them. So I raced out at the mini bike races a few times, but you couldn't
Too hard
control
to ride.
it.
No,
Yeah, it
no.
was like stupid. So I was in the 12 to 14-year-old class, you know, and met guys like Dave Miller, who was also in the class, but he had a Hodaka. Wardy, of course, was one of the heroes. Guy by the name of Dave Carlson, who just passed away.
Okay.
Good friend. He was the man. He won everything.
Is that right?
Gifted rider, just incredible. He had a hot shoe, you know, slide the things. Just incredible ride. So he was the main guy. Wardy was in the younger age group, and those two were best of friends and battled, you know.
Okay.
So if you ever went to those mini bike races, you knew Jeff and Davey were the highlights. Other guys like a guy named Zach Barrett, young kid, Sean and Kelly Moran, and the Speedway guys. A lot of those kids grew up racing the mini bikes and then went out into the industry in different forms of racing.
Yeah.
It was an incredible thing. But so basically my parents said, ditch the mini bike. You can get them out. Well, I think I was 16. And my dad's like, okay, you got the choice. You can get a car, truck, or a motorcycle.
Oh, no.
You know, he's thinking we're going down to get a truck or something. So I'm like, Bultaco, baby. I said, I'm getting a motorcycle. So I went down and bought a 1971 Sherpass 125, $800 cash.
Brand new.
Just here's all my money. I say, got the Bultaco, and no way to get to the races. I had to either Morris's dad would take me, or I ended up getting bumper racks for my dad's cars, Impala, Chevy, or something, and we'd throw the bike on that, and my mom would drop me off at El Toro to race.
Just drop you off and leave you.
Yeah, drop you off. Well, yeah, backpedaling to the mini bike thing. She would drop me off there, right, with my killer mini bike, my lunch and a gas can, some tools. Drop me off, say, I'll be back at 4 to pick you up. You know, not thinking that I might be dead by then, you know. So
Wardy did the same thing. His parents had like the burrito truck guy watching him.
Yeah.
Like what?
So
yeah,
that's how I met.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
So
okay.
I'm sitting there. The races are over, and Jeff's dad was a big part of the mini bike club. So they're hanging out later. We're cleaning up, and I'm kind of near him, and the pits is empty, basically. And I'm sitting there with my little chair and stuff. And Jeff's mom comes up to me and says, you okay? Or is someone coming to get, you know, she wanted to know. And I said, yeah, it's okay. Well, we live in the same town, pretty much, Mission Viejo. And, I said, oh, my mom's coming at 4, you know, it's only 6 more hours or something, you know, she'll be here, it's no problem. And so I met, Jeff was, he could have been 9 or 10 or something, I don't remember, but yeah, so that's how I first met his mom.
Yeah.
And of course followed his mini bike career, and then as he got into the bigger bikes, you know.
Isn't that cool that you guys ended up working together so closely at Cowie all those years later?
Yeah, and we weren't friends, more like I was older, so the older motocross guys in that area I was with, you know, Jeff was like below that a little bit in age, but we all knew how fast he was going to be.
Yeah.
And then later when I was riding expert class or something, and Wardy being the 100 expert, you know, maybe the gate behind, he was always coming up, you know. I'm like, I can't, you know, I got to beat that little kid, you know, I can't let it. But so yeah, then working together was incredible.
That's awesome. So
I get the Bultaco, and then I ended up wrecking my dad's car because the foot pegs on the bumper racks was scraping the paint and everything. So he got kind of not upset, but he's like, that's it. You know, there's mud all over my car. So you can get a van, right? So now I got a motorcycle and a van, you know, just a couple of years later. So, you know, once I got the van, then it was
off to the races,
off
literally.
to the races on the weekend. You know, no more El Toro was cool, but
Saddleback.
I want to go to Saddleback, Carlsbad, and race.
Okay.
So I'd made intermediate at El Toro. You know, I'd worked my way up slowly and made intermediate, was winning intermediates. Thought, well, I'm going to go Saddleback, and I'm going to ride novice and get that trophy or whatever. So I go there, and it's like, man, that's a big track. You know, that's a long ways around this track, and I don't know where I'm going. So
because El Toro was probably flat.
Real tight.
And tight, yeah.
It had an uphill and a little downhill and stuff. But so I ended up getting lapped.
In the novice class?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guy by the name of Jeff Fiddick, who became a pretty fast pro and stuff. But yeah, I learned a big lesson. Like, I'm I'm no good. So yeah, I had to kind of learn how to ride outdoors.
And so just I don't know what point this ties in, but you brought this jersey, and I just love it. It's super vintage. Never heard of it, AAA cycle, but
Yeah.
tell me the story about the jersey you got behind you.
So yeah, one of my first few races at El Toro novice, I was doing pretty good, and on the entry form you had to fill out if you were sponsored or something. I'm not. What do I do? So there was a Voltaco shop, Voltaco Hodaka in Santa Ana called AAA Cycle, and I go there and get my oil or spark plugs, whatever. So I just wrote down AAA Cycle as a sponsor, and Larry Huffman was actually the announcer at El Toro, his early announcing days. And he read, the novice class and blah, blah, blah. And Norm Bigelow, sponsored by AAA Cycle. And the owners of the dealership were in the crowd watching. They're like, whoa. They said, we're sponsoring this kid. Our name? Wow, that's pretty cool. So next time I went in there, they're like, gave me a jersey, gave me 10% discount. I was their butt. So in a roundabout way, that was my first help sponsor, I'd say. So
10% off, free stickers.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what that jersey means. So AAA Cycle got sold from the original people, and then years later, Mitch Payton bought AAA Cycle, and then eventually went into the Husky shop.
Yeah. Was it Pro Circuit Products, PCP originally? Or was this
Anaheim,
even Anaheim Husky?
Husqvarna, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but it was from the AAA,
Yeah.
so it's kind of coincidence. But
That's great. Yeah, no, I love that. That's such a cool tie-in, and what a cool piece of history,
Yeah, and I found that on eBay, and it was real similar, if not the exact same jersey I had.
Yeah.
That got shredded because I used it forever. But
That's awesome. So how serious did you get with your racing career? Like, where'd you take it? What was kind of your peak?
well, I it was really hard. That era was really hard. So we're talking early 70s. 125 class especially. There was Voltacos, Pentons, DKWs, CZs, Saks. Didn't really have
None of them were worth a damn.
Right. They were 250s sleeved down. They were
Yeah.
heavy. They were slow, big flywheels, everything. So, I had worked my way up, good intermediate, let's say. And then 73, Suzuki came out with a TM 125.
Okay.
And it was kind of looked like the Coster Spike or Robert's, and pretty cool. And they were fast. So I bought one of those. And yeah, they were the fastest thing going, and I worked my way up through CMC intermediates and other racing to where I was going to become an expert. Well, about the same time, the Elsinore 125 came out, and way, way better than the Suzuki.
Okay.
So now I spent all my money on my Suzuki, and everyone in the world's buying this Elsinore 125. It was unbelievable. So I was shuffled way back in the pack.
So your Suzuki now
Yeah.
is almost not irrelevant,
No good.
but yeah.
I can't afford an Elsinore. So I put my name on the waiting list to get one and tried to figure out how to sell my bike or whatever. And
Which is probably hard because everyone wants an Elsinore.
who
now.
wants an old beat up TM? So at the local Honda dealer, the owner's son was getting one, and then I think Wardy was getting the other one, and then I got the third one out of the dealer.
Okay.
So I got the Elsinore, but a little late in the game.
What'd you pay for it? Do you remember?
It's probably $800 or $900, and I couldn't ride it. It was so narrow, so light, and you gave it gas and it went, so it was like, and you had to shift it real close ratio tranny, shift the thing. It took me a long time to kind of figure out how to ride it, but the 125 class exploded locally. So all these kids were coming up on Elsinores. You put a pipe on it, and they were
Just a rocket.
fast. Yeah. So guys I'd never heard of before, young kid, you know. So the class exploded. There'd be 3 gates of 125s, you know, just everywhere. So I eventually kind of got mid-pack, let's say, CMC. But the era I transferred up into expert was with Mike Bell. We raced a lot together through intermediates. Mike Tripes, Warren Reed. I mean, just name after, you know, all these guys.
Lots of
right?
fast guys back then, yeah.
Yeah, so once you got into the expert class, you were screwed. There was there was 15 guys battling to get in the top 10.
Yeah.
And then you throw in Marty Smith and Tommy Croft and Daniel Laporte, Bruce McDougall. You know, by the time you're 15, but you're the first non-hero, let's say.
Yeah.
And I didn't have much support, so, you know, I wore out tires and, you know, ill handling. I didn't know any
You had
better.
10% off over at AAA
Yeah,
Cycle.
well, they were long gone.
Oh, okay.
I had a little help from a shop in San Clemente, Competition Cycles,
Okay.
with Gary Blandon, who was Marty Smith's mechanic on the Monarchs,
Oh, is that right?
kind of famous tuner.
Okay.
And I'd hang out there all the time because it was fun shop, kind of like Pro Circuit. Everybody came in there. And he would, when DG first started, he was porting the cylinders for him. And then it got to be too much work, and he's like, he quit. You know, he was not into working that hard, and he liked surfing. So sometimes you come to the shop to get your parts, be a sign on the door, gone surfing. Come back in 3 days or something. But anyway, so
Come back when the surf dies down.
so yeah, I was a mid pack at best, CMC expert.
Okay.
Pretty much knowing I ain't gonna make it, but the nationals were gonna start. The 74 was the first year of the 125 nationals.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends, including Morris, he had a Yamaha support ride, were going to do some of the races. And I wanted to go really bad. Like, got the van, got the bike. You know, I'm a CMC expert. I'm going to go. Well, about that time, my parents decided they were retiring to their retirement house in Polsbo, Washington, where Filippoto's from. And I was the youngest kid, and they said that there's not a room for you. So
Tough love. Beat it, kid. Go grow up.
Yeah, it's time to put the motorcycle aside and grow up and get your
Wow.
own place. So I was like, what? So I moved in with my sister. We got a condo and rented one. And yeah, I had to pay rent. I had to buy my food. I tried to figure out how to race. You know, this is wake up call. So she had just taken a job at Kawasaki, of all places, as a secretary. And she said they're hiring in the warehouse. You know, if you want a better job. I was working at a car place, a little car shop. And
As a mechanic, just
yeah, well, before that, I was actually working at a place called Lion Country Safari,
okay.
where that was in Orange County, and you could drive your car through all the animals.
Oh,
And stuff.
jeez.
Go through the lions, then through the elephants, and do all that kind of stuff. It was a pretty cool place to work, but I had to work weekends. And yeah, I quit that, and then I got this car working at a gas station car repair place. So Kawasaki sounded pretty good, so I applied and got a job in the warehouse there.
Okay. So that was really your first industry job then at that point.
Yeah, and wasn't going to do the nationals, you know. But
Well, it got you a start.
yeah, I got in the door.
Okay, so you get this job at Kawasaki with your sister, and you're just in the warehouse at this point, like unloading boxes and putting bikes together, or like what are you doing there?
It was the parts warehouse for the West Coast, pretty much. So, you know, all the dealer would order parts, and we'd pick the parts, ship them to the dealers. But it was a cast of characters that worked there, you know, motorcycle guys. And Kawasaki was only 10 years old then. You know,
Oh, wow.
They've only been in the country 10
What
years.
year would this have been?
76.
76, okay.
So thinking back on it, wow, that was the early days of a company, you know, Kawasaki. So,
Yeah.
and Kawasaki was kind of a fun place to, well, good times roll, but it was the misfits in the industry, basically.
Oh, really? That was kind of the vibe back then?
Yeah, like maybe they couldn't handle Honda or Yamaha or something, and they'd end up at Kawasaki and find a home. So, especially in the R&D department, where a lot of very creative people, you know, that were a little bit of the misfit, you know, having fun, partying, making stuff, and really. So I wanted to get in with those people more. The warehouse crew was really good. We all rode bikes and we did events and went, you know, here and there. But one of the guys I worked with was a ex-CMC guy, you know, junior class. And he goes, "Have you ever tried a jet ski?" I'm like, "Nah, yeah, wouldn't know why." Yeah, you know. So he took me out. Says, "You got to try this. It's like motocross on the water or something." So we went to Newport and dragged the thing across the beach. So my first time out in the surf, had to go through the surf. He was already one of the top guys.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not easy to learn in the surf.
No.
That's not your
and
first
this was 76, 77. So it was a 400.
Okay.
Slow.
Yeah.
And his name was Doug Silverstein, who became a national jet ski champion or whatever. So we went out there, and he's standing up and everything. So I figured, you got to stand up on this. So I'm standing up right off the bat instead of kneeling. But it was in the winter. It was rough. There was seals, you know, out.
Yeah.
It was like an obstacle course. And so I'm like, this is kind of fun. I'm kind of getting it. So been a lot of time with Doug and some others, Steve Strickland, Bob Ferris, all the early jet skiers that helped develop the product and stuff. And I spent a lot more time on those than racing. I was still had an RM 370.
Okay.
And was racing some local races, but I was in the intermediate class again, you know, and it was fun. It was the same old routine, but the jet skis was an all new sport. And it was fresh.
You're kind of ground level there with that.
Pretty much, yeah. It came out in 73, real rough prototypes. 74, then 76 was when they started really mass production of the ski. And then 77, they made the first 440. And I was already pretty good at that point. Well, they, you know, eventually we're going to have to race these things, right? So it's either the second or third jet ski race. I was at Newport Dunes, and I entered and rode in that race. And then, yeah, more races were popping up, so I started doing. But I was more of a surf rider. You know, I loved it in the surf. Finally, I could get in a wave and not worry about swimming after the board or whatever.
Paddling back out.
Yeah, you had a motor and you had a life jacket and jumping waves, rough water. So me and Doug Silverstein spent a lot of time in the ocean riding and training. So all of a sudden I'm in a new sport being formed, new racing, new everything. Aftermarket companies making product. So,
which at the time, who were kind of the first people, like, was it PJS?
Yeah.
And then R&D. We just had Dean Dickinson on, and he was saying
were,
R&D got into it.
They kind of got in a little later. There was Performance Jet Ski, West Coast Jet Ski, and some Sacramento shops. But I remember we'd go to the Queen Mary area, Long Beach, Golden Shores, and we'd ride there, smooth water, and we'd ride during the week after work at Golden Shores. The weekends we go to Carlsbad Lagoon, or we go to Oceanside or whatever. And Ed Miller, the owner of PJS, showed up one day and he had like 4 skis laying on the ramp. He didn't have really a rider, but he's like, "Can you guys try these things and let me know which one works better, which one's faster or something?" So that was the beginnings of PJS. And yeah, we kind of did some help steer him in the right direction. And then that shop took off like crazy. But
Yeah, they were big.
But a lot of jet ski adventures. I always seem to get talked into crazy adventures kind of stuff. So me and Doug one time rode from Newport to Long Beach and back in the surf.
What is that? How long does that take in the water? I'm doing it by freeway, but
yeah, I don't know how many miles it is, but you need gas.
oh, you did? Oh, geez.
So
Okay.
our friends were at Long Beach with a gas can, and we started out and it got foggy, and you couldn't see anything, right? And we're like, well, we know we keep going this way and we'll hit Long Beach at some point. So we were riding next to the shoreline in the waves. We kept going and going and going. It was so foggy. So all of a sudden we go around some jetties and we're like, we don't see the shore anymore. And we're like, where are we? And we look up and there's like a giant Navy vessel, like we're out in the middle of the canal or something, Catalina, and they're all kind of moored there. So, we're in the Los Alamitos naval base, right? So we're like, oh no, so we had to backtrack. I mean, you couldn't see anything. I mean, we found the jetty where we made the mistake. We went into this harbor. So, yeah, we got out, found the shore again, and kept continuing on. And then eventually the sun came out. We could see, the Queen Mary and everything. So just we do crazy things like that. There was a San Diego to, I think, Newport or San Diego ride. But I always wanted to go to Catalina.
That's a long ride on a stand-up.
Yeah, so hanging out with the Brecker gang, Goat Brecker's dad, he was doing a lot of fishing on a boat out towards Catalina. So we were talking one day, and I said, yeah, I've always wanted to go to Catalina. He's like, you'd never get there on your knees. I go, on our knees? We don't ride on our knees. You don't get it.
Yeah.
So he goes, I'll take you. So we got like 3 or 4 guys, and we met Goat's dad at San Pedro, closest point to Catalina. It was a winter day, kind of cold and rough. And we followed him out of the harbor, and you couldn't see the island or anything. And he was kind of plowing the waves for us, so we could get behind, draft him. And we were heading towards Catalina, and then got maybe halfway, 3/4, and you could see the island. So we ditched him, basically.
He peeled around him and took off.
We just took off. We were on 550s, I think, and we were just head down. Got to Catalina, parked the skis or whatever, went in and had breakfast at a little diner there, and the people are like, oh, we're in our wetsuits and stuff. And they're like, did you rent those jet skis? Or no, we rode them from San Pedro. You're kidding. Well, are you spending the night? No, we're having breakfast and going back. So we did make it in under an hour, which was...
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Well, we were, some of the best guys in the country. We weren't messing around. You could hold it.
But it's rough.
Open.
Like, that isn't good.
It smoothed out. In the middle, it smoothed out pretty well. So, we caught up on time. So,
gosh, I would have thought it would have taken longer. I mean, it takes almost an hour in that Catalina Flyer.
Yeah.
You guys were moving.
We were some of the top, like I said, we weren't afraid of no rough water.
So how big was that sport back then? Was it?
It was getting huge.
Growing fast? Because I went to, I guess it would have been early to middle 90s when, at least for me, I feel like that sport peaked. Mm-hmm. I think it was IJSBA. Yeah. But those races were huge. And, man, like Chris McCluggage and Victor and Fischetti, those guys were it was fun to watch them.
Yeah. Well,
Before it went sit downs, the sit downs kind of killed it.
yeah. So I was way before all those guys, but they were
Yeah.
coming up when I was going out. Basically, it was kind of like CMC racing. It's like, man, you got to really put money into these skis. I rode a lot of stock class stuff because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But 1981, they had national championships, and they were held in Lincoln, Nebraska, where the jet ski was made.
Okay.
And $10,000 purse or $20,000, I can't remember, but big deal. So if you qualified from that race, you got to go to the Race of Champions in Hawaii. So I'm like, I got to go to Hawaii. Big surf. That's me. This roundy round buoy stuff I'm not that good at, but I'll qualify somehow. So I was riding stock class, but they wouldn't take the stock class winner to go to Hawaii. You had to be in the super stock or the modified. So one of our team members, Eddie Lawson,
The Eddie Lawson?
the Eddie Lawson.
Okay.
So he rode for Kawasaki Superbike team
Yeah.
when I was there, 1980, 81. So he got, in his contract, he got 2 new skis. A stock 440 and the first year 550. So I'm like, hey, can I borrow that stock ski to race it? So he's like, yeah, go ahead, as long as when you come back, you work on it for me and put, a prop and a mat and all that stuff on it. So I was sponsored by Eddie Lawson. So I went to Nebraska in my camper truck and 2 skis and drove all the way there. And I took my stock ski that I'd been racing and I put like a modified head on it and moved the prop up. Real limited hot rod, and entered it in the super stock class. And somehow I got 4th and qualified to go to Hawaii.
Okay.
The stock class, which I pretty much was one of the top guys. Brand new ski, thing wouldn't run with a crap.
Really?
Bogging out, just what the heck? These things are bulletproof, right? Well, that year it had just come out and they made some plastic fuel filter system.
Okay.
And the gas shrunk the fuel filter, or the plastic around the fuel filter, so it was starving for fuel. But I didn't know, so I'm trying to ride this. So I got kind of smoked in that class, and then Eddie was like, what's the deal? I don't sponsor losers. You can't even win, So anyway, it's pretty funny to be sponsored by, and
That's hilarious.
been a good friend all these years and stuff. But he probably didn't even remember he did that, but to me it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So I got to go to Hawaii.
Okay. So how do they get your skis over there?
Well, what they did was Kawasaki made maybe 12 or more jet skis, 440s, all the same. So they had mill heads.
Okay. So it was Race of Champions just like they did in Moto.
Yeah.
That's really
except in the North Shore of Oahu, so big surf.
Yeah. How were they doing that? Would they just put buoys?
They put buoys out there, and it was in a place called the Turtle Bay, which now it's called something else. And it was a hotel, a Hilton hotel, and this bay with some surf, and they put buoys out. And it was NBC filmed it. It was sports world kind of thing. It's a big deal. So I'm like, I can win this thing. Right? I'm a surf guy. Doug Silverstein, Larry.
So you weren't intimidated by big waves because there's a photo which we'll put up. It was pretty big, good size surf.
I wanted the biggest waves. I thought bigger the better.
Jeez,
I'm
okay.
not afraid of that. Later, I became afraid of it.
Yeah, I'm terrified of it. All right.
So, get to Hawaii and we're practicing, and a little, 4-foot wave or something breaks, and I hit it and I crash, and it hit me like twice the power of a wave over here. So over there, the waves are big time. There's nothing slowing them down. They're massive power. So I'm like, got schooled real quick on this is serious. But so Larry Rippenkroger,
yeah.
Steve Strickland, all the guys I rode with, all the heroes of the
Larry
sport.
the Rippenkroger. Yeah.
And it's Sacramento. He's not he could ride the surf, but he wasn't a surf expert like
Right.
Silverstein and Strickland and me and others. You know, there's a lot of named guys. So anyway, Sports World's filming it. So the announcer is Bruce Jenner.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. So Bruce Jenner. And,
How did she do?
well, this is a good story. So Bruce had been hanging out at Kawasaki a lot with Jim Weinert. They were good friends, and Bruce would hang out with Weinert, come to the race shop, knew his way around jet skis, riding in Malibu, you know.
Okay.
Blah, blah. So he's like talking, you know, he's a pretty good surf rider, blah, blah. And we're all like, yeah, right. So they wanted him to go around the course and film it, you know, and he would narrate, you know, this turn, that turn. Well, it's like 6 to 8 foot Hawaiian,
boy.
choppy. We're like, this doesn't look good, but we're all watching. This is going to be good entertainment. So he heads out, and there's YouTube footage of the race and everything. But he heads out, and he almost bails on the first 2 foot little thing. Gets out into the big ones and just unloads, right? Wow, just flies off the ski. Big wave crushes him, and it's all choppy. You can't see him anywhere.
Foam.
Foam,
Yeah.
no sight of him, no ski running.
Oh, no.
So everyone's kind of like, oh, what? So they sent Rippenkroger and Silverstein out to get it. Go find him. He's out there. So it's all being filmed by NBC.
Jeez.
So Silverstein finds him, and the ski's sunk. It's down. You know, they don't sink all the way. The back floats, so it's
Tombstoning.
heading towards
Yeah.
Pipeline or something. And Doug gets him, and Doug was a freestyle champ, so two people he could figure out how to get him back. So the footage of him picking up Bruce is pretty funny because
Oh
he's
my gosh.
fully panicked, like grabs the throttle, the thing does a wheelie, you know, just water in their face. So Doug gets him to shore, and then he puts on the act like, you know, it's no big deal. Well, he almost is fearing for his life out there. So, yeah, so Doug Silverstein saved Bruce Jenner's life, you know. So we always joke, yeah, it's your fault, Doug. You know?
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, Bruce was the announcer. The race went on, and
At least he had some perspective of how gnarly it was out there.
yeah, there was no messing around.
No.
You had to know your shit. So I ended up qualifying, went to the semis, and I win the semi. And it's like the race of, and usually I have bad luck. Something weird always happens to me. So I win the semi, rode the race of my life. Like I actually did a double jump over a wave, you know, at some point. I clanked it and hit the other one. Never bobbled or anything. Won the race. Come in to get the interview with, and everyone's waving their hands. And this is like a 20-minute moto. So they're like waving their hand. Doesn't count. I'm like, what? Doesn't? Because I won, it doesn't count. Right?
Wow.
Well, they said that on the start, there was a Hawaiian guy. I think his name was Brian Surratt, local jet skier. You're supposed to hang off the back of the ski and then pull yourself up. Well, he was little enough, he was in the tray and took off. So they disqualified him. And instead of docking his position and everything, they just chose to rerun the whole stinking race. So,
oh, come on.
So we're all exhausted, everything. And it was kind of luck of the surf, how good you would get a start or whatever. And I'm like, I was so mad, tired. So, of course, I get dead last off the start and worked my way. You know, somehow I ended up qualifying for the main event. But I was still so upset because, you know, I won that thing. It would have been great footage, blah, blah, blah. So I made the main, and then they waited till the biggest sets of the day came in. And, you know, I don't know if you're a surfing guy, with Jerry Lopez,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Pipeline. He was there. We were a novelty to the North Shore gang, so all these guys are hanging out with us. And they wait till like I want to say it was close to 10 foot, 8 to 10.
It's
Okay,
insane.
fire him up. You know, we're like, whoa, you're looking out there and you got to go through all this stuff and find the buoy and go around it. So the footage is pretty incredible. The start and a big set comes in and there's jet skis flying everywhere, just bodies, skis. And luckily I was behind a little bit to where I turned around and waited after the carnage took off, so I'm in third. And Rip and Kroger's in the lead, or in second, and another surf guy's in front. And it was like this carnage battle going on.
Just
survival at sea, and I fell a bunch of times. And Larry was in really good shape, and the other guy in the lead got really tired, and Larry ends up winning the race. And he's maybe the guy that had the least amount of surf knowledge of all of us, you know. But it was a great race, 1981. Action packed. Bruce Jenner almost drowned him.
That's crazy. I'll have to look it up on YouTube. I never even knew there was such a thing.
Yeah, it's hard to find it. It's pretty bad footage, but Sports World, I think it was, and yeah, some of those pictures I brought with the big whitewater behind me are from the semi, I think, that I won that didn't count. But what was crazy is that they had these photographers on surfboards kind of tethered out there that were they were expert watermen, you know, just getting jacked, taking all these pictures and cameras and stuff.
It's crazy. I've been over there. I've surfed for probably 25 years. I'm not great, but I do love it. Mm-hmm. But I learned very early to respect the waves. I don't surf anything overhead. I don't need that.
Well,
and I've been rocked and almost drowned a couple times in like 4-foot waves.
Hawaii is a whole nother game.
It's a whole other animal.
Yeah.
I
love big wave riding. It was some of my biggest heroes.
I respect all that stuff a lot. That's crazy.
I ended up, after jet ski racing, through Doug Silverstein and a guy named Randy Lane, that Oceanside area that was a famous longboard surfer, and he'd ride with us all the time, and he was incredible wave jumper and freestyle jet surf rider. So we formed a little stunt team called the Wave Busters during the Ghostbusters era, and we ended up doing surfing events up and down the coast. Like we did San Clemente Surf Festival for years. We'd be the kind of halftime entertainment, jumping waves and surfing and stuff. And then Imperial Beach, Oceanside festivals. We were laughing because we were making more money than the race guys were, and we were hanging out at the beach riding illegally in the surf. So
that's awesome.
The OP surf contest, the OP Pro, which was huge back then, had us do a halftime thing, and Randy's brother Wes Lane was I think he made it up to the main event or the semis. So they had us go out, and surfing events, you know, it's pretty low key. There's no engine noise or nothing.
Right.
So as soon as we fired those up, the crowd went crazy, and they're all lined up on the pier. And then we hit the first wave, like all together, and Randy could out jump us by 6 or 8 feet. He just flies. So there's photos of him almost pier level, you know, with the spec and as soon as they saw that, the crowd just went crazy, cheering, we were like instant legends or something. So a lot of the footage made it on TV, and then some of the early Supercross races, you know, they threw that in. That footage would be in.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it was shown quite a bit, but. So we got to do the OP Pro a couple times, and then they wanted Kawasaki to throw in money or something because they were getting too much press, and Kawasaki didn't. So we got kind of kicked out, or we weren't invited back.
Too much press.
And then that was the year that they had the riots there.
Oh.
You know, and we were all laughing. They were rioting because the jet skiers didn't show up, you know. So... Anyway, we got to do a lot of cool stunt shows.
That's awesome.
And then it got to be where we were too old to do stunts, and some of the guys I rode with, the newer kids, you know, like a guy named David Gordon was doing some testing for Kawasaki, and he came out riding the surf with us. Well, he was a freestyle genius, right? So the waves were coming, and if it broke, you know, you went over the white water, bunny hopped it, and tried to get over. Well, he did like a duck dive. He just went under the wave, popped out the other side.
Just submarined it.
And we're like, what the? And we knew we're done. You know, our little stunt show's got nothing now with these new kids coming up.
Yeah, now they're doing flips and spins. Like, what they do is pretty incredible.
Absolutely amazing.
I will say the little bit that I did, you know, surf riding, we'd go out by Pendleton, like I told you, and come right up to the shore, and then like it's like watching a supercross lane come at you.
Yeah.
And I would always try to do what you're talking about. I'd wait for waves to kind of come at an angle and double them. And that was, when you could get it right, it was so fun.
Yeah, we spent 10 years at Pendleton with Randy Lane.
Okay.
And that was our Sunday first light. We'd be out there, best water, and then be home at 9 in the morning. You know, I did a tank of gas, was done.
It's a shame that that they kind of killed the stand-up jet ski with sit-downs and because the racing side completely went away and petered out. It just wasn't as interesting to watch.
Yeah, and when the sit-downs came out, being a Kawasaki and the R&D side was next door to the race shop, so my buddies were doing the jet skis. So I would help out testing new products and stuff. And when that sit-downs kind of came out, I'm like, nah, this isn't. I tried to stand up on one side of it, you know, the seat was in the way, and then they went so fast when you unloaded, it was, you know,
dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they would turn so sharp. It's like the ski would turn and your bones would go that way, you know, and the rest is this. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not getting into this.
I'm actually surprised they make them, because they'll do 70, 80 miles an hour now, some of these. I'm stunned the liability isn't so much that they go, all right, we're done with these.
Yeah. Yeah, they get probably sued every day.
I would bet at least the stand-ups, you had to have some skill to go fast enough to hurt yourself, so, you know.
One more story, and we can get rid of the jet ski side of it, but always felt that the skis weren't fast enough for me in the surf. You know, rough water, I loved it. And the 550, it's just,
550
I could hold it wide open for almost as long as I could physically do it, and hit the, you know, it's like motocross or desert racing. You're just flying through the chop. And, you know, I had big, strong legs at that point, and it was like, felt like they got to make something faster. So they made a 650. And it was a big deal. They're finally a new hull, new motor, everything. And they wanted me to help endurance test it or evaluation testing. So I went out to Pendleton, Oceanside, and they had rented a big fishing boat with the engineers from Japan on it and the brand new prototype 650. So we were jumping waves, showing off for the engineers. This is what you can do on the thing. And it was pretty fast. So somehow I ended up being the last one on it at the end of the day, heading back for the launch ramp. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hold this thing wide open. I want to see what it's got. So the boat left, and I came flying through the chop, just going as fast as I could, just, you know, and I could feel my body's getting lower and lower. You know, it's just awesome. It's going that fast, and all of a sudden, boom, just dead in the water, and so I see the boat turn around and come back, you know, and they throw the rope out, and they're towing me back in with the engineers on the swim step, you know, just looking at me like, you broke my toy.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, oh, but I was like stoked, like this thing was, before it blew up, it was fast. So we get back to the shop, and you know, we have to figure out what went wrong, because this is a major test. Well, the pump plate was I don't know, composite plastic or something. It's gone. There's just little bolts holding what was left of it. And
You mean the ride plate underneath?
yeah,
Okay.
gone, and the grate was gone. That just slamming so hard it broke,
Oh.
flew apart.
Well, so then why would it quit though?
Well, that part, the flywheel somehow, I don't know if it was flexing from the big hit, it sheared the stator bolts off. So the flywheel grabbed the stator at a serious RPM and then ripped the whole wiring harness out.
Oh, geez.
Just
All right.
grabbed it, pulled all the wires out, and it just
That'll do it.
totaled the whole thing.
That'll do it.
But I was so happy, and the engineer was so mad. And then
It's not your fault though.
I
mean,
know, but still,
it's his baby. Yeah.
So then, yeah, I got moved from evaluation to a kind of endurance testing.
It's probably not a bad spot. Have you ridden the new Yamaha Superjet, like the latest versions or the Commanders?
No, when I got out, kind of Yamaha was getting in with all their stuff, and I was kind of done with the sport, and I was busy working. And
They're scary fast. And you don't, I had a 550 SX forever, so you had to get those things on their side and make them carve. The new ones, you don't want to lean. The whole design is you just turn the bar and the thing goes like crazy.
I'd
They're
be
so
afraid of that. The new Cowie stand-up that goes 900 miles an hour. The test rider Kanamori's like, you got to ride this. You got to ride this.
Kanamori still
You still do it.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, that's no thanks.
Yeah, be real careful if you jump on there. Scary fast. Okay, so let's jump back into your Cowie stuff there. When did you start engaging more with the race team?
Yeah, so I had friends on the race team. Steve Johnson, who famous mechanic. He was Mr. Kawasaki Racing for a long time. He was Brad Lackey's mechanic.
Oh, he was? Okay.
And then they went to Europe together as young. He was young, Brad was young. Steve had Grand Prix road racing experience. He went over there as a teenager and tuned for, can't remember the guy's name, if it's Phil Reed or world champion. So he knew Europe, and he went with Brad in 73. So I knew Steve from jet ski, and we'd all, everyone had a ski, all the R&D guys and racing guys, and we'd go to the river. So he said, yeah, there's an opening for someone in the race shop, someone to do parts, somebody help with mechanics. Whatever.
Was this like dream job for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was ready to quit the warehouse job. I was like, I'm done with it. Time card, it's the same old routine. My friends that were there, the jet skiers, had left to go on the circuit, and I'm shoving parts in boxes. And they paid me well, and I was kind of supervisor or something. So yeah, I'm on. Sign me up. I'll transfer the race shop. So I told my boss, and he said, well, you got to give it 2 weeks notice. He's kind of being a little, I don't know, jackass or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes me mad, but all right. So within the 2 weeks.
But it's not a different company.
No. Yeah, he should have just said, yeah, see you later. But he made me do the 2 weeks. I transferred over to R&D, which is in a different building. And they're all on their own over there in R&D and PR and stuff. There was four buildings in Santa Ana. So Steve had hired me. Steve was running the motocross team at that point. The team manager had left, and Steve was running everything. And so I go to start, and there's a new guy in charge. Like, his name's Gary Mathers. He came from Kawasaki snowmobile racing in Minnesota. And I'm like, well, do I have a job? I mean, what's Steve? Well, Steve's being transferred to road racing. He's going to work for Eddie Lawson and go on the road. So you're going to be the guy running the shop, kind of keeping it together while everyone's off racing and stuff. So I have a new boss, doesn't know me. I didn't really know what I should be doing. So I'm like,
new job, you don't know how to do. And
here we go. I got a key to the shop. That's about it. No clue. So yeah, it was a mess. This is 1980, started in 1980. So we were transferring from twin shock motorcycles to single shock. So the first Unitracks had come out, the prototypes. So it was a big learning curve thing. So I remember there was like 12 Unitracks laying against the wall, and the Mathers goes, well, first thing you do is every one of those, the motor's blown up, so you can fix all those. Somehow they put the shift drum in clocked wrong, and it would go in between gears and scatter the trannies.
Oh, jeez.
But he had all new motors, so I'm like, oh, that's easy. Just swap a motor out. So yeah, I started then 1980. So there was Jeff Ward, Larry Wosick, Warren Reed, and one of my.
I'm going to show this real quick if we can get a look. This is he brought this in, just history of factory riders for Team Kawasaki, and I mean from Lackey, Jim Cook, and Pierre Cars Maker in '72, and it goes all the way up to 2011. But yeah, you got hired here in '84. So Mosier, Wardy, Warren Reed, and then Larry Wosick, Chappie Bloss, who is Chris Bloss's uncle. And Goat Brecker.
And Goat was an R&D rider through R&D, so he wasn't really on the race team. Chappie he had done really well in amateur racing, so he got riding Cowies, so they gave him a kind of a backdoor ride.
Okay.
And he had a mechanic that was really, I got along with, I forget his name.
Jerry Hall?
Jerry Hall from Go-Kart Racing. So he was pretty cool. And they had their own little motor home and a trailer, and
so Jerry Hall started his own kind of hop-up shop in Arizona, and he did all of my bikes as an amateur. And so I had heard stories of him working for Chappie, and this guy's stuff,
good,
really good. The guy was sharp.
So
I get made fun of. My mechanic Brian Pryor, he'll probably laugh at this at the time, but he made this little like reed block stuffer that had a hole in the middle of the piece in the middle, and he would put it on a flow bench. He goes, I cut this hole in and it just flows way better. And I mean, it worked. The guy was really sharp. Yeah. That's interesting
and he, they were kind of off to the side, so they get parts or something, but the good parts went to the other guys. So me being in charge of the parts, pretty much everyone's your friend,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's why I have a lot of friends over the years, because
you had the keys to the castle.
Yeah, pretty much. So he wanted a cylinder that he wasn't supposed to have or whatever. But Chappie was a good rider and did well. And at that point, Kawasaki's they were no good. Compared to everything else.
Really, they were junk at the time.
Yeah, and they were new Unitrack. It was a lot of learning that you.
So who was doing most of your testing and development? Just all those riders, kind of trial and error?
Not a lot of testing. It was like in Japan, maybe they got to try something, and then the bikes would come over. They're full works bikes. They come over, and that's what you got. And you could tune a little bit on the suspension side or something, or motor here and there, but there wasn't a lot of parts. There was like big crates of parts came in at the beginning of the year. And then there was nothing.
That was what you got to work with.
Yeah. And I remember Roy Turner was like the crew chief, senior mechanic. So all the parts went in his trailer, and then he would divvy them out. So mostly he kept the good ones for himself. Because Warren Reed was maybe the fastest rider we had. Mosier.
Was it for you, a guy who's a big motocross fan and wanting to get to that race team side? I mean, you had to be in heaven working with these guys, right?
Oh, yeah. I was like...
Were you a little bit starstruck?
Yeah. It's Roy Turner. He did the paddle tire, Jimmy Weiner, Honda, factory Honda. And Mark Johnson was Wardy's mechanic. Rocky Williams. I don't know if you know the story of Rocky Williams, deaf mechanic, worked for Galen Mosier.
Oh, really?
He was deaf, but he was a legend. And we all got along great.
How the hell did you communicate with him? How,
It was,
completely deaf?
yeah. And he was something special, and Galen loved him. You know, he could have had another mechanic, but Rocky worked on his Makos when Galen rode Makos, and then brought him to Kawasaki. So it was a challenge, and I got to say, if I don't go to heaven when it's all over, it's because of what we did to Rocky. You know, we had a lot of fun with him. He's a good sport, but man, sometimes Roy was an instigator of a lot of it. He would say, "Hey, get Rocky's attention, bring him in the parts room. While he had his engine apart, you know, and he was putting it together, I'm gonna take his clutch basket off and hide it from him. And then when he comes back, we'll watch, right?" So, okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. So I get Rocky in the back, and, you know, sign language, he read lips really well. So we'd go like this, you know, so he couldn't hear us.
Cover your mouth.
Great guy, good friend. So, yeah, I get Rocky in the back, and I hear the impact going, that, you know, and he's taking the clutch basket off, hides it. Rocky goes back, goes to work on his motor, and then he's like, "Where's my clutch?" So then he immediately goes to Roy, you know, where's my clutch? I don't know what you're talking about. So for 20 minutes, it's looking everywhere, trying, you know.
He's pissed.
And then we pull it out. There it is. And then he chases us around the shop and stuff. But we had so much fun with him. So Galen, unfortunately, got killed back in New York, and Rocky didn't have another rider. You know, no one wanted to put up with what it took to have. So Rocky helped me in the shop for most of the year, and then he got let go. You know, it was pretty sad, but you know, he really hurt him bad, and Galen was gone, and you know, so he bounced back. He started a construction business and did well, and we kept in touch. I get a phone call from the deaf operator. You know, I got someone on the line, and I could hear him in the background, and he'd type in or whatever it takes to communicate. And he'd be cussing, and then the operator would cuss back to me. You know, it was some classic times. But years later, at Denver race, he was living in Denver, got a hold of me through Goat or something. I got him pit passes to come hang out with Kawasaki under the tent, and introduced him to all, you know, Jeremy, and instantly, you know, he became all their buddies and stuff. And so we're sitting in the very back. It was the first kind of races of the 4-stroke era.
Okay.
You know? So we're in the back watching, and he looks at me and goes, "I can hear." I'm like, "What?" I can hear the motorcycle. I'm like, "What?" And the vibration.
He could like feel it.
He could feel it, right? And I'm like, "We got to go to the AMA. If the bikes are that loud, a deaf person, you know, they got to restrict them."
This is a problem. Our deaf guy's hearing these. Yeah, he's saying they're too loud.
But Rocky was just and Goat loved the guy.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, unfortunately.
Did he pass?
He passed. He had fought cancer for a long time, and he recently, I don't know, last couple of years.
Oh, what a bummer. Well, it sounds like he was a lot of fun.
Yep.
What are your so you know, take me through some of these guys that you worked with. I guess start with, you know, those first years, like Goat. You and I were sharing some stories about Goat. I just absolutely love him.
Goat was R&D, doing a lot of testing with Jim Cook, and Rick Ash was working on his bikes. So they were doing a lot of the local stuff and a few nationals here and there. But him and Rick really gelled with tuning the bike, and they were killing it at CMC and Carlsbad and stuff like that. Wardy, of course, I wanted to do whatever I could to help him. It was early in his career, and he was out of shape, and he'd lead for a while and fade. The bikes held him back a little bit. Mosier, of course, was local hero. He was so good on Mako's CMC. When we were all racing, we'd always watch Galen's lines, because he was a master picking trick lines. You know, we'd say, oh, it's a Mosher line right over there. You know, you go up the bank and you come down, square up the corner and stuff. So, like, you know, I helped him. But he was coming off a broken leg, you know, and he was kind of at the end of his career. So Warren Reed I knew from racing. We kind of went up through intermediates and expert, and you know, he was way better than I ever was. But Roy kind of worked real close with Warren. Warren's bikes were a little bit above the other ones. So Jeff spent a lot of time making sure Wardy was handled. You know, I'd do whatever, help testing or stuff like that. But
Yeah, it seems like you guys got to be really close.
yeah, we
over
did
years.
kind of later on. And, you know, we had road racing, too, in the same shop. So
Oh,
there was David Aldana riding Superbike, Eddie Lawson. And Kawasaki was more budget, more towards road racing at that point. Big effort. They were a little more prestigious than us.
World Superbike or is U.S.?
U.S. Superbike.
Okay.
So against Factory Honda, Yoshimura, you know, it was a battle. And Eddie was champion. He only did win the championship with, you know, against Freddie Spencer and stuff. Big battle. So, motocross team, like I say, we struggled. It was hard to get Japan to take it seriously, you know, and
In those early 80s, you're saying? Yeah.
yeah. And they would make some good bikes, and then the production ones weren't the same, you know. So maybe the riders were practicing on production bikes, racing a totally different bike. So it evolved a little bit from there to where we started using the older works bikes to practice on, which became more parts usage, more maintenance. You know. So I kind of did a lot of that.
Shuffling parts around and trying to make it
Building the
work.
bikes. I was the shop. Everyone else would go on the road. So
Well, and I know Wardy, at least, maybe all the guys were doing this, I don't know, because he was local, he would go out and ride, and he was usually going to Central where it was just silt and rock. He'd destroy a tire, filters plugged,
yeah.
bikes beat to crap, and he'd just drop it off at the shop and go, see you in the morning.
Oh, yeah,
and that was you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Were other guys doing that?
yeah, if his mechanic was in town, you know, he'd help or whatever. And so
But this was box fan days, so a lot of
box fan
times they're
days,
gone.
they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they came back, they didn't want to come to the shop, you know. So, yeah, I'd go fill in at the race, help at the races, whatever it took. I was just that guy that did. You could always count on me. I wouldn't say no unless there was a jet ski race or something. So, but Jeff's mechanic, well, Mark Johnson first was his mechanic, then they switched. Mark went to road racing, and Mike McAndrews became his mechanic. Well, Mike and I got along great. He was from Santa Cruz, same age, real mellow, great talker. We call him the Senator because he could talk his way into anything. And I mean, later he started Factory Connection. And then he went to Rock Shocks. You know, he grew up with Paul Turner, so that was the Rock Shock inventor. So pretty successful career, but we got along great, and he was really into making Jeff win. And Jeff, as he got older, he realized what it took to, you know, he was real sharp. Jeff was always understood the whole picture, so he knew he had to get in shape. He got hooked up with Jeff Spencer, and their program started taking off. And he went from out of shape to this muscle massed, incredible athlete. All by pretty much, he didn't have all this entourage. He did on his own.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that. So I got involved pretty heavily with him. So we worked out plans on motorcycle practice. He was riding a lot, so built 2 bikes. So he would completely wear the thing out one week, and the routine was he'd pick it up Monday or something, the new one, and then I'd fix the other one. So it was all this constant rotation as he flew out. the old bike would be there, and then when he came back Monday, he was ready to go again. But he was working out in the gym. He did all the right stuff. But he would just waste those bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Burn the tire off to where it was just nothing there. But he'd ride motors like that and get throttle control. You know, he learned, or it'd go flat, and he didn't know how to change a wheel. So he'd ride a flat tire. Yeah. And my buddy one time called me. I'm out here riding in Jeff's bike. He got a flat, and I gave him a spare wheel, and he had some tools. And he put the wheel on, and something's wrong, and it looks like he put it on wrong. And well, he's going to bring it back. And he's riding around, it's making this horrible noise and stuff. So I think we put the wheel on. Both brake pads got put on one side of the disc. You know, so it was like no brake. So,
and he rode it?
Oh, yeah. You can't not do a moto, right? So yeah, some pretty beat up bikes would come back into the shop.
Yeah.
But that's what made him so good is he rode a lot.
He's, in my opinion, best all-around racer I've ever met. I mean, motocross, triathlons, bicycles, IndyCar, supermoto.
Incredible.
He won everything. You know,
I'll do anything for the guy. Still today, if he used to call me, you know, need me for some reason, I'd be there.
He's the only guy I know that calls you Norman too.
Yeah, he does. Well, I'd get the call sometimes. One time he calls me, I broke my pelvis in Michigan or something, and I need to get picked up. I got a flight, LAX, something. And I need you to pick me up at the airport. Okay. So I go and get him, and he's like, I cracked his pelvis or something. And we put him in my van. I'm driving back, and he's kind of like up like this. And if I change lanes without telling him, I hit those bumps, he'd just scream, ah! So I'm like, whoa, let's see it. So, yeah, I dropped him off, you know, all beat up and stuff. But I don't know how many times, you know, it'd be Thanksgiving morning or something, I get a call, my practice bike won't, you know, didn't matter. He was out there training.
He's a beast. He was like, you know.
And as he grew and got more professional, our team did as well to support him. So I learned so much of how to keep a rider like that going. You know, it took a lot. You had to have a plan, and practice was a key, and you had to not mess up that part because that's what makes him good. You ride all those hours.
It's a very common theme among the legends of the sport. They rode a lot. He also did a lot of stuff off the bike, but
and
Carmichael, you know, you name it. All of those guys put in a ton of seat time.
Yeah, and we got into bicycles. The Olympics were in Mission Viejo. You know, the bicycle road race was in Mission Viejo. So we all watched that, and next thing you know, we all got bicycles, and we were training. So we had a little bicycle team, and we would do the local races. I remember one time we were going to win the thing. Wardy's going to sprint to the finish, and we had our team all there, and we were going to lead him out, you know, just like Tour de France or something. We had no clue what we're doing, and there's some guy riding with us and just drafting the whole way. And so we get Jeff to the finish, and it was in Newport somewhere, and he takes off way too early, and the other guy just bags him at the end, you know. So we had a lot of fun bicycle racing. And
he's a legend. I did want to ask, we did something with him. We found the guy who had or bought one of his championship bikes, the 84 KX125. Did you ever see the video we did when he rode it?
Yeah, I was in horror.
Well, something was, I mean, I don't know if it was jetting or if there was something going on. It was a little.
Well,
that
usually they'd ask me, can you work on, you know, Rick Dowdy, a vintage guy that I vintage race with and everything. Sometimes would call me, such and such got an old works bike, he needs it. And I'm not touching it, because it's not a fact that, I mean, you can get it running, but it's still not safe, because the suspension, the seals, you know, it's one end to the other has to be gone through. And I would just say no. So when I put that bike together, as a championship replica bike. The real one was I think his mechanic had the real one, who sold it maybe to Greg Prim or something. But that was the one that was all the parts were there. It was correct, and I pieced it together, and it looked just like the race bike. And yeah, when I heard he was, then I'm like, oh, I should have worked on it.
Well,
but it did run, and it ran pretty good.
It ran strong. Like watching him when it would come on, it's like, oh wow,
yeah,
that's a fast motorcycle.
That was a torquey fast bike, and the battles with him and Johnny that year were incredible.
Yeah,
and Roy and I did a lot of the testing. While Mike was on the road tuning it, we were trying different transmissions and going out, and we'd test things, before Jeff got it. And it used to make me mad because Roy was a gifted rider and athlete.
Roy Turner?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Athlete.
I didn't know.
So I thought I was a good starter. I was good starts when I raced and stuff. Couldn't beat him. And we tried different trainings, and it didn't matter. He'd win every time. So it's like, which one works better? But he could start, like, he beat most of the riders. But yeah, we did a lot of work on that 84. And it meant so much because we hadn't won nothing since Weinert.
Yeah.
And Jeff was coming into his own, working out. Everything was coming together. The bike was good, and the battles with Johnny's bike was more of a top-end power, and Jeff's was more of a torqueier power that matched Jeff's style. And that's some of them epic.
Oh yeah, that was two giants, smashing
heads. And the last race at Washougal, when Johnny took him out at the mechanics area. You've probably heard that old story.
I don't think I have.
Well, yeah, all Jeff had to do was finish third or something, or fourth or something. And he was leading, and Johnny was on his butt. So Jeff swung wide in the mechanics area, the old mechanics area, Washougal. Swung wide in front of everybody so Johnny could go underneath. Well, it made Johnny mad, so he took him out at the end of the turn, at the apex. And then all the mechanics, everyone's like, whoa.
Oh, I think I do remember that. They kind of a little dust up in the mechanics.
Yeah. And Jeff got back up, and everything is fine, won the championship. But I have a picture of him crossing the line, and he's shaking Johnny's hand, and they both get their helmets on and stuff. And then there's a Japanese engineer standing with me, and then I was the next hand in there, Wardy did it, I got a pretty cool picture. But yeah, we had some good times with Jeff. And the 250 class that next year, 85, when he won both titles, I think it was the only 250 rider we had. And Factory Honda had the trickiest works bikes, Hannah Bailey machine, Omar, everyone. And Wardy just did what it took to win both titles. And the Honda guys thought we were a bunch of old hippies or something. We didn't barely had a team uniform, and Jeff took them down.
I never really thought of that. 85 was peak HRC, right? Full works bikes,
low
so
tank.
Much money put into that. And he beat them in both series.
And the bike was good. The SR we had was good. It had a Kips
power valve.
I don't think it had it quite yet. Good, reliable. The bikes were evolving. KHI was putting more effort into racing and crossing over into production bikes. It was a big push, mostly by Roy pushing them, and the results we were getting with Jeff and stuff.
Did he know that the production roll was coming?
Yeah, we all knew it was coming. And so it was semi-production, but still works, but nothing like that Honda.
No, that thing was like, but they were having the same issues that you guys were, where they're practicing on production stuff and going to the races and having to figure out, even though it was a missile, they were trying to have to figure out how to ride it.
Yeah,
so it was
in the sport, it was transitioning. And yeah, they put all the riders in the last class
at Washougal,
trying to take out Jeff. Yeah, so He beat them all.
Yeah.
You know, I think he got maybe second overall, but all the Honda guys couldn't deal with it. And we tore it up afterwards, a championship party. And
did Wardy get loose? I don't think I've ever seen him drink, or he's very.
No, but he had a good time, and we went around and did something stupid. We bought all the whipped cream or something in every store and had whipped cream fights in the bar. We chased Wardy's dad down in the bar and covered him in whipped cream, and then
nice.
And then from Japan sent the top racing Japanese boss over, and we snuck up into his room, and we go, we'll knock on the door, and you know, to say it's Jeff Ford, and you want to thank him or something. So he knocks on the door, and this guy woke up. He's like, you know, it's Jeff Ford. And we're all standing there with whipped cream, you know, and he comes out, sticks his head out, and we just plastered.
Buried him.
Kicked the door open, just let him have it.
What was he saying? That is so not Japanese culture, right?
Yeah,
I mean they're very polite.
He was
and
making a bunch of weird noises and stuff, but he had a good time, you know, and we had a even better time.
Bunch of weird noises. That's the best thing I've heard.
And Jeff's dad was incredible.
Yeah, I never got to meet him.
Oh man, what a personality!
Really?
And you know, Jeff's so easygoing and mellow, and his dad's just the opposite.
Oh, really?
Jeff's mom's was more like Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff's dad was
a talker or what? Just a
bigger than life, and he would come in with that Scottish accent, and
was it a heavy Scottish accent like Dean Wilson?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not quite as bad, but deep voice. And so he'd tell all these stories about this and that. And he wanted me to restore Jeff's XR 75. So can you come over to the house someday? Yeah, I'll come check it out. And they live in Mission Viejo. So I go over, and he has always been telling me stories about, you know, in Scotland, he raced the Tour de France. He was a soccer professional, you know, like World Cup level. He was a trials expert, trials rider with the great Sammy Miller, you know. And it's like...
Is this true?
Well, it's like, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, it's a good story, and Jack could spin the yarn like the best of them. So I go over, and we're looking at this mini bike. And he wants it re-anodized. The motor blew up because he ran nitro in it. You know, all this work that needed to be done, but there wasn't any talk about who's paying for it or anything. So I'm like, yeah, I better not get involved. So the next thing you know, the scrapbook comes out. There he is, like the Tour de France. There he is, soccer. There he is, riding with Sammy. All the story, it was all real.
Like that movie, The Big Fish.
His dad was the real deal. You know, it was incredible.
Wow.
And then he did a lot of mortgage stuff for different mechanics buying houses and helped them all. And he kind of got into country western singing.
Oh, really?
With a Scottish accent.
Okay.
It kind of embarrassed Jeff a little bit.
Oh, it did?
At one of the nationals at Saddleback, Webco Hill up there where all the PR stuff was, they did a halftime. The band played.
And he sang.
With him singing. And Jeff was in the box, man, like, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
Hiding. But, yeah, Jack was unreal.
Oh, he sounds like a character.
Oh, if he would tell me, if you need to get a hold of me, call the country club in Mission Viejo. Call the bar. I'll be there.
That's what Jack would say?
He liked this scotch and stuff. So, yeah, I tried one time and got a hold of the bar. Is Jack Ward there? Just a second. And I hear the guy scream, Jack, the phone's for you.
He was there?
He was there.
That's hilarious.
He'd golf and have a good time.
What about you were there when David Bailey was there too? David Bailey was there for a brief period of time. What's your take on
David was awesome. David and Gary were backdoor riders. So I always had the backdoor rider, Chappie Blouse. There's always somebody we had to help. And when Steve Johnson hired me, he said, help everybody you can ride the Kawasaki, because there's not very many. So, yeah, I did, what
Parts,
he said.
flowing parts.
I would help him. And so he had a Team Green ride before there was maybe Team Green. And we helped him with parts and everything. And he was getting good. He was starting to really be good. And, of course, Gary Bailey was one of the first guys in motocross. He was one of the pioneers. He was so good on greaves and stuff. So as he got better, we kind of got him on works equipment a little bit, water pumper, motor, and stuff like that. So we were all thinking he was going to
stick around.
He's going to be on the team.
Yeah.
So Gary Mathers, the new boss, was hired a new rider. I forget. I think maybe replace Warren Reed or something. And we're all thinking, well, it's going to be David. And he comes back and tells us, I hire a new rider. His name's Tommy Benolkin. And we're all like, who? What about,
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's Bailey's, whatever his reasons were. Tommy was from Minnesota, and so was Gary. And he's so fast in the sand, which he was. Tommy was a great rider. He did really well in the Florida series, and he rode some Hondas. I think maybe some Honda Support 125s. So we were like, what? So anyway, Tom became on our team, and Bailey went off to, I guess, Honda at that point. But Tommy, I mean,
he was on the team in '81, so I don't know if he went somewhere different in '82 before he went back to Honda. I think he went to Honda in '82 because he did. He filled in for
somebody.
He filled in for Hansen when he got hurt.
Yeah, maybe. And Tommy was fast. Like, I remember Steve Johnson took him out Saddleback to get used to the bike or whatever. And came back, we're all like, so, how is he? He's like, well, he's kind of a cross between Hannah and somebody else. He goes really fast, but sometimes he goes down.
Oh, he's a crasher?
Oh, not so much, but yeah, he had his fair share.
Yeah.
But a great guy, and he worked really hard. And he did pretty well in the 125s that year.
Did he?
With Wardy. And then he graduated 250s, 82-ish. And that bike broke every time he was on it. Like something flew out of the motor and it overheat.
I'm not picking on Kawasaki here. That happens to every manufacturer.
You go ahead. I'm not really.
Well, yeah, I guess you wouldn't mind that. But I mean, it happens to every manufacturer. You'll have years where just, maybe it's a new bike or whatever, and not so much these days, but especially back then. But it's like there's such a small window of opportunity in this sport for guys. If you get stuck on a team and your bike's just constantly blowing up, like you might miss your window.
Yeah. And that's kind of may have happened to Tommy.
Maybe, yeah, because he didn't last too long.
It was so bad with the bike breaking, and we couldn't get things fixed. And Roy actually made KHI send him a letter of apology. I've never seen that before.
Is that right?
Yeah, where they were sorry that the bike wasn't.
It's bad.
It was bad. Like, I would go to some of the races. Rick Ash was his mechanic to help Rick because we had to swap motors in between. And at one of the races, we had to do a pit stop, like a NASCAR pit stop, and put water in the thing because it would boil over.
Oh, geez.
And, yeah, Roy, me, and Rick, he pulled in. He's like, mid-7th or 8th, riding the wheels off it, pull in. We'd have to snap the radiator cap with boiling water spewing everywhere. Fill it. I remember we filled it all up. We got him back out. He only lost a couple spots. And he's pinning it, doing good. And then the clutch basket went through the engine. Boom. Push it off.
Yikes.
So, yeah.
What about Dogger?
Oh boy,
There's got to be some good dogger stories. What was it like working with him?
I loved the guy. We all did. Ronnie was so much fun, and everybody tried to, I don't know, figure it out how to make it happen.
What was the I mean, it's hard not to love the guy. He's just like,
I'm smiling right now thinking
yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
He's
And
just such a great dude.
I still talk to him a lot at Maxima and,
Do you?
and enjoy him.
Were you guys trying to go, okay, if we could just get him to, focus a little bit, or was it more like trying to just wrangle a tornado? I mean, he was just doing what he was doing.
Sometimes he would be just fine, and we all tried to figure out the missing part, which at one point he's not riding or training, right? It was amazing.
He was jet skiing a lot.
And his roommate was riding his bike, Fowler.
Ricky Fowler?
Not Ricky.
Or Terry Fowler.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He was riding his bike more than Ronnie was.
Oh, gosh.
So Roy, this isn't really known, but Roy was just at wit's end. He goes, you know what? Why don't you go down to Ronnie one day a week? So you go down.
Is he saying this to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You take him jet skiing in the surf and pound the living crap out, because he knew I could just work him, and we'll work on his practice bike, take him jet skiing, go in the surf, work him like he's never been worked before, and then come back or even stay down there for the next day or something. And I'm like, this sounds like fun, Oh, go jet skiing, I don't have to work, Well, so it almost happened, right? And then Roy's like, can't do that. And, Norm's supposed to be doing something else. If he can't figure out how to train and be a professional, then why do we? But I honestly think maybe he was thinking I might have been worse for him, because I did my share of partying and having a good time, and maybe the two of us together might have went to another level, And,
bad idea.
Yeah. So Roy, it almost happened, which who knows? But I ended up working for Ronnie. He was in between mechanics, and he was allowed back to Japan to race the Japan Supercrosses. First time since.
What years would this be? 85, 6, 7, or 6, 7?
I don't remember, but yeah, in the mid 80s. So he was allowed back in the country after the.
Yeah, he joined the team in 86. He was there 86, 87, 88.
It's probably 88, maybe.
89.
Probably right.
Okay.
And I think Rick had worked on his bike. I forget. We were in between duties of mechanics. So I went to Japan to work on his bike for the Supercross. So the first time he's allowed back in the country. And again, the paparazzi was everywhere.
Really?
Like Lashinas, and we're at the track, and it's like no one's paying attention to Ricky or Jeff again. It's all about Ronnie and stuff. And he got in this battle with Jeff Lees in the main event,
Okay.
and they couldn't pass it, and they were taking each other out and doing and the race is going on without him, I'm like, oh my, what is he doing? But he was more interested in messing with Leafs than winning the race. But I just remember the paparazzi, all around him. But I helped when he had his problems and was in jail or whatever. He'd get on the weekends. His dad and Roy were pretty tight, so I built bikes for him that he could take and ride and do some events, some races and stuff. And I mean, at San Diego, he was racing. That was when he was number 100 or something. So I had to meet his dad somewhere way out in the back parking lot, so no one at Kawasaki would kind of know and wheel the bike out to him. But yeah, incredible. And he was on. It was just spectacular.
I mean, there's the famous story of him taking his girlfriend to prom on a Saturday night, catching a red eye to Southwick, missing practice, and going out and winning the first moto.
Oh, just
I mean, those are and this is not, wives' tale. Like that happened.
yeah. And
There was nobody that could just make it happen like that, dude.
we'd have funny times testing. He would forget his boots or something, and there's always some excuse. And we were at Palm Avenue, me and Rick, and we're testing the 500, big serious test. Ronnie's gonna kick everyone's ass, And he did like 2 or 3 laps, and Palm Avenue was really rough, nasty. And all of a sudden, we don't hear him, and we hear this brr, rah, brr, and we're like, what is he? We're trying to do lap times and stuff.
Yeah.
What is he? And we look, and he's riding all over the place. He comes back, and he's like, did you see that hawk? It was one of those kite hawks or something that goes in the ground. He was chasing it all around. And the bird's leading him, and he's going. And we're like, oh, my God, Ronnie, we're supposed to be testing this suspension of the pipe.
That's awesome.
He was so fun.
Anything, were you ever around when he crashed rental cars or like anything crazy?
No, not so much, but there's a good rental-car story with Jeff and Eddie Warren.
Jeff. Wardy? Okay.
So the 500 class series was starting in Texas or something. And I drove to Texas with all the 500s, all the parts. We were just going to switch over all the box fans. And Kent Howerton I think he was riding for us. So we were going to go to Howerton's place. Kent was...
He lived in Texas?
Yeah,
okay.
Outside of Austin, I think. So he was a great guy, a lot of fun. And not a serious trainer. You'd think he was because he's always real fit looking, And so he's like, couldn't wait for me to come into town, Oh, he had this whole itinerary plan that I didn't know about. So I get to the hotel and beat because I drove all the way to Texas. And he's like, we're going water skiing. And I got the jet ski. So we go to the lake, and we're jet skiing, water skiing. I'm dead tired. Then he calls all the guys flying in and said, when you go to the rent-a-car place, get a turbo Mustang.
Oh, boy.
And he goes, I know how to put the boost all the way up. And he was part owner of VP, I think, at the time. And I got C12, 55-gallon drums of C12, and we're going to have rent-a-car races. So it was like nonstop fun, no riding at this point, So everyone comes with these cars, and we get them all souped up. And he had built he had a lot of property, so he had a flat track. And it was like a dirt track oval in rent-a-cars.
Oh, my gosh.
And, he has a friend named Cowboy. They had a 4-wheel drive Toyota with a roll bar and everything, lifted. So he's going to show everyone how to go around the track. And like the third turn, something rolls it. So we're like, oh, my God. So we're all got helmets on. We're all racing, doing all this crazy crap in rent-a-cars. So then Jeff and Eddie Warren, they go out kind of moto in the car, and they find a jump.
Oh, no.
And they hit it, I'm going to take a picture of the little camera or something. They hit it, and they get, like 1.5 foot of air or something. It's like, wow, that was really neat, So they went way back and just hit the thing at speed. And they go, whoa, it's like the Starsky and Hutch thing, So it comes down front end, hits, the hubcaps shoot off, the front end of the car buckles and, breaks the windshield. Then the back end of the car hits, does the same thing, buckles and breaks the windshield. And the thing's just dead.
Yeah.
Ruined.
Just past a jump. Yeah, you got to explain that to the rental car place.
Yeah, so we took it back at like midnight and put it in the rental-car thing. And then they called, of course, and Eddie, said a deer ran out in front of him or something, and he went off the road. I forget exactly what happened, but somewhere I got the pictures of all the carnage at Kent's house.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, motocross guys in rental cars is just It's not a great idea.
No.
What about the bomber? He rode for Cowie in '86. Did
Yep.
you?
Yeah.
He's kind of gone MIA. He's hard to get a hold of these days.
I got along with him great. He was just a hard-working, kind of at the end of his career at Cowie. The bikes were pretty good. He's going to ride a slow 125, go back down in the 125 class. And I think he did good Supercross. He might have won a race on 250. Had knee problems, but he rode a lot back at Grandma's house, whatever, in Alabama, I think it was. And he'd ride all until it ran out of gas, and then he'd push it back to wherever. That was his training. Run until it's out of gas, and it's full tank of gas. Then wherever you are, you had to push the thing back and get training that way. So he was gnarly.
Yeah.
When he was on our team, he wasn't as gnarly as a Suzuki. When he was on the 125s, he was
a beast. Yeah.
He was a beast. But the thing that I got along with him great was he loved Frank Zappa. Like, I have a really bizarre musical taste.
Okay.
You talk to some of the guys in the shop and they're all just, oh man, Norm's music. From my jet ski friends, they got me into jazz. So a lot of, not the New Orleans jazz, but it's more like progressive rock jazz.
Okay.
Some really incredible musicians. And we go all the time in little bars in Manhattan Beach or wherever, the jazz bar, all night and watch these guys play. And a lot of them studio guys that did all the hits for all the different musicians.
Okay.
And they would at night go play in this little place called the Baked Potato in Hollywood. And they'd stretch out, and they'd incredible. Like, one of my favorite guitarists is a guy named Larry Carlton. So his sound is Steely Dan, lead guitar, and just Joni Mitchell. He's been on 100 gold albums or something, maybe 3,000, I think, studio stuff from Pink Floyd to whatever. He's the guitar guy.
Kind of the unsung heroes of it, huh?
And they just play, hardly anyone in the bar, and we would just love it. So I was kind of into Zappa. Well, Barnett was a huge Zappa guy. And he'd have, apparently he'd have big speakers out on his track while he's riding in the middle of
Oh, really?
Alabama with Zappa playing. And the Zappa nuts are incredible. They can tell you all the lyrics, bizarre music, bizarre lyrics, hilarious stuff.
Huh.
He knew all of it. He could recite it,
Yeah.
It was a little known fact about Mark, but
That's really interesting.
yeah, every time I see him, I'll say something like Zappa, and he'll recite.
Smiles,
he'll
yeah.
recite something, But
The list of guys that came through the shop when you were there, it's, we don't have time to get them all, but Bader Manet, Rodney Barr, Tyson Voland, Matasevich. You got any good chicken stories?
I got a good Bader story.
Let's hear it.
Well, yeah, so 125s, that era, a lot of the factories had support teams. The Suzuki had Tishner, Turpin, all these guys, and Honda had Leask, and Kawasaki had nobody, right? So Roy put together a little budget, and we got Bader and Rodney Barr.
Okay.
Couldn't afford two mechanics, so he had one mechanic, Jim Anderson, in the box van taking the bikes, and then I'd fly in with Roy on the weekend and work on the second bike. And at first I was working for Rodney in, Gainesville. Fly in, we get to the hotel, everyone's laughing at me. You're a rider. I'm like, my rider what? He got thrown in jail.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what? I won't say why, but he got thrown in jail, goofing around. And then he got out on bail or whatever, and was in the hotel room, wouldn't come out. So it's the first national.
Not off to a great start.
Yeah, so Roy and I go in there, figure out what happened, and then, yeah, he went like a bat out of hell the next day, you know. But so somewhere along the line, I ended up working for Bader. We switched, and he was a great guy. Great. He didn't low key, like he didn't care a lot about his bike. Just had to be reliable and stuff. And so there was a pipe that worked really good, but he liked the stock cylinder and head, like just jetted really good with a stock pipe. So he was kind of working a little bit with Ricky Johnson, and he was all fired up. I think it was Houston or Dallas maybe, Supercross, and he's like a new kid. He's hauling butt. So he's in the lead, and guys that were better than him are behind him, but he's holding his own, and he's going to win the thing. So he gets what is it? It was like the one lap to go or something, and it might have been Kyle Lewis or I forget who it was. Kind of passed him, and I'm like, oh no! But he just made a mistake, got passed, but he's going to pass him back. It's one lap to go. He passes him back, wins the race, and it's like he won a race. He won a race. We're all excited and stuff. Well, the AMA goes, timeout. We went one lap too many. I mean, you think about it. They would never do that today. We went one lap too many, so we're going to go back to the 18th lap or whatever it was, 14th, and that's the lap he didn't lead. So he didn't get the win. They took it away from him. And I was so mad. And they're doing the impound of the bikes. Roy was screaming at the AMA rat. Poor Bader, he gets his win taken away. And they wanted the cylinder taken off and everything. So I stripped the bike down, wheeled the bike back to the pits. And they're like, "Where are you going?" I go, "You wanted the cylinder. It's stock. I got 50 of them. I don't even want the damn thing. You keep it. It's yours." Wheeled it off. But, yeah, they took his win away. Maybe the only time in history. And it was really
That was at
rough.
Gainesville?
No, this was a Supercross.
Oh,
so it was
Supercross.
somewhere in Texas. I can't remember if it was Dallas or Houston or
That's
something.
crazy.
I looked it up one time trying to figure out on the vault,
Yeah.
I want to say it was Kyle Lewis that ended up getting the win.
Well, that is not very cool. What about, you've had Damon Huffman, Emig, Rhino, Dowdy, RC, Stewart.
The Krudowski,
so many guys.
LaRocca, yeah. And it's, I wasn't their mechanics, but I was in the shop. I was kind of running the shop at towards the middle there. I was the supervisor of the shop.
Yeah.
So it was like keeping everyone running, testing. So, I worked with all of them in some form. All of them, like, good story. Hard working LaRoccos, and Krudowski was.
You have on your notes here RC Bike Development 2001.
Okay, so Roy Turner left in 97 maybe.
Okay.
And he left in kind of the early part of the season. He got a job opportunity of mountain biker at RockShox.
Okay.
It was more money, and he was traveling too much, and Kawasaki, wasn't really taking care of him the way financially. So he left, and I was kind of the unofficial guy in charge because most of the mechanics were contracted, and I was an employee. So it was like I kind of had to be the employee taking over kind of thing. So we won every race that we didn't have a team manager. So I think Damon Huffman won, right? Whatever. Emmy was in that battle with McGrath, winning. So they wanted me to, and this hasn't been said too much, but they wanted me to be the boss, take over. Kawasaki did, and Roy had kind of said Norm should do it, but I didn't want any part of it because all the reasons Roy left were reasons I didn't want it.
Yeah.
It's too much work, not enough pay. I didn't think I was ready. So then Japanese management had me helping find someone to take the job. And I recommended Bruce Sternstrom. He was a lot of fun. I knew him from the jet ski days. He did Team Green. I didn't know his work habits that well, but I knew we just needed someone there, and the rest of us can handle our jobs. So we hired Bruce. His first race was Minnesota, I think. And took him there, told him all the road, this is the team. And we lost. McGrath beat us. So his first race, we lost. But all the times I was doing it, which 4 or 5 races, maybe 4, we won. So I was the unofficial team manager that was undefeated, I guess.
Nice little feather in your cap.
Yeah, no one knows about or is totally wrong, but I'll take it.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, Emig, that championship, it was a big deal for me because Roy was gone. He was always there when we needed that expert experience, and he was gone. So it was a lot on my shoulders, and Jeff was rising to the occasion. We won that championship and took that number 1 plate from McGrath, which hadn't been done, right?
Big deal.
And
yeah.
it was a huge relief knowing, we can do it without Roy, we can do it. So leading into the Carmichael thing, we were watching Ricky struggle a little bit in 2000. He was clearly not going the speed he needed to, and I felt it was the bike holding him back more than anything else. And he was still kind of not sure if he belonged there or not. But Roy had bought a video camera, a Beta professional, big, giant thing that we were using a lot of footage. And it was incredible. Like you could zoom in, slow-mo it. You could almost count the spokes going around the wheel. And we started doing a lot of video filming of the races. And then I would study it, and really look at the bike and see things that you normally don't see. And I watched the McGrath's bike to where I could tell when they tuned on it. I could tell the changes they were doing, how it worked, and how the rear didn't move a whole lot. It was pretty stiff, and it didn't use all the travel. Like it just kind of sat in this one area and would just go across the hoops. And Ricky would be hucka-bucking and swapping, and it was, holding back. So Bruce and I decided to talk to Ricky about what he needs for next year. He was getting thirds, occasionally leading, and then Villeman or McGrath would bag him, couldn't go the speed. So I knew all the downfalls of the bike, the areas where the bike couldn't work on the track. So we got Ricky alone, no Johnny, no entourage, just him and me and Bruce in the room, and just said, hey, tell us what's holding you back. We want to fix the bike. And he told us, hey, the motor's great. I never wanted to work on the front suspension because I just didn't want any changes. I was good enough with what we have. That could be better. But the back kicks, it's always kicking me, which is exactly what we saw in the footage. So we decided to start developing the bike in the summertime, which usually you don't do. And we hired a test rider, Craig Decker, who was coming back, doing local stuff, and he was a good stout. I heard good things about his testing. We had an engineer named Ross Hecker that we'd hired. He was a full-on aerospace engineer to help us, and we went after it. So we we built a track with Mark Peters in Corona that we had every obstacle that the bike wouldn't work good on. We put that obstacle in. So
Nightmare for him.
Imagine riding something that doesn't. And then we were going to fix all the little quirks. And I had good communications with Japan about the issues and kicking. And I had one engineer there that's been there since the 60s that really was into racing. And he told me a couple things to try testing. And we went out with Craig Decker. One of them was sawing a gusset in half. Saw the gusset. He gave me a little drawing and see what that does. I'm like, what? Okay. So we pulled Craig off. I go, okay. We pulled the gas tank off, and I cut this. Craig's like, what are you doing? Don't worry. Just ride a few laps, and tell us what you think. He comes back, and his eyes are like, it's incredible. The thing turns. It picks up the small bumps. It's awesome.
Wow.
I'm like, you're kidding me. So
you cut the gusset basically.
The gusset laid on the top of the frame, and it was like this long. So we cut it in half. Just cut it with a hacksaw through the center, so it
So
moved.
just through the gusset, not down into the actual mainframe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it kind of flexed a little bit. So I report back to Japan. Yeah, he loves it. Fixed the front end, but the backs. So then he goes, well. So this is 2001 or 2000.
2000. Summer, yeah.
But the bikes really didn't change much, So he goes, the Japanese rider, one of our top riders, prefers a 98 frame. Try that. So I'm like, yeah, whatever he says, okay. So it turns out the 98 frame became the 99, became the 2000, but for durability reasons, they kept strapping up where it would crack or break. And then the plastic got refitted, different gas tank, but all the pieces fit. So we put a 98 frame on this thing, and Craig was like, oh my God, now the back end's working. It's not kicking. It turns because it doesn't have that big long gusset. It's incredible. So we kept working with him and testing and trying suspension, and we ended up with the 98 frame
That was the ticket?
Is better, but now what do we do, right? Because the gas tank was a big tank, and I think the shrouds bolted onto the tank, where the new bike, the shrouds bolted onto the frame, and it had all different look. So we cobbed something together where the pieces all welded on or fit. And I got the rule book out and was studying, what can we do here? Well,
is it not legal to run a frame from the past?
You can homologation. You can run an old frame, within a certain amount of years. The rules, pretty much nothing there. You got to ask AMA kind of quietly.
They keep it all gray and vague.
Yeah. So the biggest issue was the gas tank. For some reason, had to go with the frame. That was a homologation package, which I thought was weird. But you couldn't change tanks at that time. So Japan made this fiberglass cap that went over the tank that hung down, and then the shrouds bolted onto it. And we made it kind of look like a 2001, hung the side panels on it, and shortened the subframe way down. So we made this hot rodded garage special thing. Ricky came out and just loved it, Just said, man, this everything I want. This is it. So we took it to the U.S. Open. I don't think it was an AMA race, so we didn't have to worry about too much. And he won, beat everyone, but McGrath wasn't there. Smoked everybody. So we're like, man, now how do we make this thing look presentable and not get caught, or not caught, but we don't want anyone. Our bike is so bad we have to use a 98.
Yeah, right.
So we have to hide this thing. Some marketing guys. So I talked to Japan about using the bike, and they said they didn't care. They just want to win. They don't care what the U.S. marketing is. We want to win. So we were over that hurdle. So we, at the same time, the AMA changed the rules for gas tanks. Just coincidence, because people were running out at Unadilla or something.
Okay.
So they said you can put a bigger tank on as long as it's not lighter or whatever. The current rule they have now. So we're like, yes. So we could put the 2001 tank in this thing. Shrouds will all fit on. We just weld some different fittings, do whatever, and make it look like a 2001. And then we got all the way back kind of, and then it's like, well, it's so low. Ricky could flat foot sit on it. Well, we don't have a seat, you know. What are we going to do for a seat? So Japan made me some seat bases, real lightweight prototype material, and they sent over a stack of like this high, you know, throw them away every race or whatever. So we made the seat fit, got it low. The motor was all good. Rick Ash would do an incredible job on the motor. So then we're like, oh, the airbox doesn't fit in there because the subframe is an older one and it's slammed down, or a newer one, I can't remember. But the airbox doesn't fit. So I've been working with a carbon fiber guy, Greg Berg, and we developed some of their first carbon fiber pieces to go on the bike. So his guy could make a airbox, which is unheard of back then. So he made a complete airbox, fit in there, and the shrouds went around real nice. But Rick's like, well, how do we know it makes the same horsepower? We don't, but Anaheim's a week from now. We got to run it. So we pieced this whole thing together as a 98 frame, 2001. Looked spot on. Nobody ever.
No one ever caught on or knew.
Today they would have, you know, everybody's got their cameras here and there, but we kept it kind of hidden enough, and it wasn't a big enough thing to see. You know, you could say.
When you can explain away the low rear end. Oh,
Yeah,
it's Ricky's. It needs to, you know. Yeah.
And things that happened through testing that was just coincidence. The lowering it, the swing arm angle got more flat, which will give you maybe more drive forward. You know, like the dirt trackers are always moving the thing around to slide or to get traction. So the thing just holds it. It would start incredibly. And Ron Cotta at the time was on the other bike, and it was like, wow, the two on the track, you could really see the benefits of Ricky's bike. But Craig Decker did a hero amount of work on that thing, and Ross and Hecker and all of us as a team. You know, but it was kind of my project. To the loose ends had to be done to get this thing to work for Ricky. So he started out slowly, you know, and then he kind of came from the back and caught McGrath at one of the Anaheims.
I think it was Anaheim too.
Yeah, and then he knew, hey, you know, I can come from the back, catch these guys.
Yeah.
You know? Then he figured out, I remember he passed him, took him out somewhere, and then felt bad and let him go by again. You know, it's this.
I remember. I think he was dealing with mentally beating like his hero.
Yeah. But then he like just put the hammer down. He won, I don't know, he won 13 races or something.
Yeah, he won a lot.
And
13 main events, yeah.
I remember how many in a row. It tied McGrath's record. But unfortunately, next year he went to Honda. But
well, it's funny that you tell this story because I hadn't heard that before, but I did hear, and I want to say it was from Big Bird or maybe Huffman, that bike, it was actually Larry Ward, from 90, whenever the gussets went on, like that, they called it the career ender. Like that bike was not good. Yeah. The guys couldn't get it to handle right.
Well, he couldn't get it to handle right either. Larry was a whole nother special guy. I thought he was great, you know, but
I love Larry.
He just could not decide on what to do.
Yeah.
And if he would put that all out of his mind, he could win, you know.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, that bike with Ricky, and then it continued on the outdoors. He rode it and stuff, and you look at it today, and it's like the real bike we gave to Ricky, and then I think the other one is at the AMA Museum, and in the Kawasaki Museum we have a third bike, but it's not the real.
It's not the real deal.
Yeah, but it was so pieced together. It was almost embarrassing, you know, like got to make this fit somehow. And
Yeah, right.
the seat was a little
Bowed and
wider than the plastic, so he would chafe his legs, but he just hung off the back of that thing.
Yeah, that was a changing of the guard that year in 01 for sure.
Yeah, and it was mostly him, but the bike, the concerns he had that we could clearly see in the video and stuff were fixed.
This brings us to our SKDA style segment. If you guys are in the market for graphics, check out SKDA. Great stuff. Best designers in the business as far as I'm concerned. So I want to ask you, of all the riders you worked with, and it's a lot, and a lot of them with a lot of character, which one had the best style? Just on and off the bike, if you had to pick a guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even think of all the riders.
I mean, it's a long list. Goat, Morty, Bailey.
Well, Bailey didn't quite
Stu.
get his Honda style yet. Yeah.
No.
I would say overall Ronnie's style was poetry when he was
Yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah.
But Stu, I'd see a lot of, especially Supercross, you can see a lot of, and I'd always be up high, either filming with the truck drivers, so you could see a lot more up there. And San Diego, 125, probably 2002 or somewhere once. I saw the perfect lap Stu did. And the only time I've ever seen that was McGrath. But on that 125, he just railed every corner. He skated the hoops so hard, and then at the end, he slowly let off to where it was still getting traction, like when it wasn't kicking or anything. He had the feel, and it was just the perfect lap.
Yeah, him on a 125 was
The best.
unmatched.
I never seen nothing like it.
Yeah.
And he had a way of, you would test and do all that with him, but come race day, he was in such a higher level that the stuff you tested didn't matter. You were in a zone where, man, I hope he can.
Yeah.
I hope the bike will take what he's given it, because
Yeah.
who knew he could go that fast?
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break. This is your Troy Designs timeout. Stick around, guys. We'll be back to wrap up the show.
There's a new product on the market that's going to help you with your riding and racing, and it's Elevate Action Sports. If you've not yet gone and checked it out at elevateactionsports.com, it's a collective of riding coaches, the likes of which has never been put together. Grant Langston, Ryan Hughes, Jeff Emick, Johnny Campbell, and myself, David Pingree, bringing all of our years of experience in professional racing to one place with professionally produced videos and all kinds of supporting staff to help you with your mental side of racing, your physical side, your bike setup, your bike maintenance. We cover it all. Get to Elevate Action Sports right now and join the community.
Dunlop. There is a reason every AMA championship in the past decade was won on Dunlop tires. They are the best. Choose the best performing tire and a brand that has never wavered in their support of our sport. Choose Dunlop. Pro Circuit. Pro Circuit products are designed with one goal in mind: winning. Through passion and hard work, Pro Circuit has operated the most successful 250 team in the history of the sport. They use that same formula when developing exhaust, engine, and suspension parts for every brand. When only the highest level of performance is acceptable, trust Pro Circuit.
Since 2009, Seat Concepts has been dedicated to making the best aftermarket seats. More comfort, more grip, more riding. For 10 years, we've continued to raise the bar. Innovation and American craftsmanship make Seat Concepts the world-leading manufacturer of power sports seats.
Something from nothing. That's what Nihilo Concepts is about. It starts with a spark, an idea, a concept, which leads to a design, and finishes with engineered excellence with the highest quality products created with durability in mind. All our products are made in the USA at our state-of-the-art facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you are a weekend warrior, ride for fun, or at the highest level of competition, Nihilo Concepts offers innovative titanium, aluminum, and carbon fiber parts for your dirt bike. We offer a wide variety of products that you can customize to your liking. Browse our site for foot pegs, brake tips, engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, lever grips, carbon fiber components, motor stands, our secondary on-switch, plus much more. Head to NihiloConcepts.com and see for yourself why factory teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs Gas, Orange Brigade, Club MX, KLM Gas, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts.
Specialized bicycles. Specialized leads the way in the world of bicycling. Whether it's cross-country racing, downhill, e-bikes, enduro, road, gravel, dual slalom, dirt jumping, or all mountain bikes that do it all, Specialized has the perfect ride for you. The brand is synonymous with engineering excellence and innovation that steers the industry. Visit your local Specialized dealer for a test ride and see just how good Specialized products are.
With a rich history in motocross, Pro-X has been dedicated to supplying quality components since 1975. Whether you're rebuilding an engine or just need a new chain, Pro-X Racing Parts aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability. Pro-X has over 9,000 part numbers and over 60 different product types that are manufactured by highly reputable or even OEM suppliers and are offered at affordable prices to help keep riders on the bike instead of in the garage. Visit Pro-X.com to search parts for your bike or check them out at your favorite online or local dealer.
A lot of us have been talking about the Stasic generation of riders, and you forget how quickly things can change in a sport that is as young as motocross. That's 6-7 years that these bikes have been around training riders. So we have a Stasic generation out on the racetrack. A lot of those riders surely were raised on Stasics, and the skills they show are next level. All the things that coaches have been teaching riders on larger motorcycles for decades, they're doing it younger than ever, and it's hard to believe the Stasic generation is already here.
All right, hey, welcome back. That was your Troy Lee Designs timeout. Get over to TroyLeeDesigns.com. Look at the brand new gear they've got out. If you guys are in the market for a helmet, it is one of the safest helmets you can put your brain in. They have different sizing for kids, which is super important. A lot of helmets will just put bigger pads in, but it's actually an adult size shell. Not ideal. So TLD has sizes for everybody. Great looking gear. The paint department's cranking, mountain bike stuff. Go over there and check them out. We love those guys. All right, so I want to get to I got more questions here moving on, but we were talking about a bike failure issue at the 84 Golden State with Goat Brecker and Wardy. Tell me the story. You said it was interesting, and I missed it.
Yeah, well, in 84, Kawasaki was getting big bonuses to win the Golden State Series.
It was huge back then. Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. So Wardy was leading the 125s. Goat was leading the 500s. The final race was, I forget the track up in northern, mid California or something. But Supercross Series already got going. So Jeff and Goat were back in, I think it was Atlanta on Saturday night racing. Well, they figured out that if they take a red eye to L.A., the Oakley guy, Jim Gennard, I think, arranged for a helicopter ride from L.A. to the racetrack. We kind of told Stu, that this was going to happen, so he's going to hold up the race a little bit for the one classes to start. It was kind of a big deal. They had all worked out.
Okay.
So I was to take the the truck with my buddy, and we took the 125 and Goats 500 up there to meet him to race. So, I mean, this is before cell phones, before all that stuff. So Roy Turner had taken Goat out testing on the 500 a couple days before they left to go to the Supercross race. So I got the bike back after testing. I put a tire on it, filter, ran it up and down the street. You know, everything's good. The 125 was bulletproof, so, and we already had a pretty big lead there. So kind of prepped that up, throw it in the truck, took off, me and my buddy, and we drove up north of Ventura somewhere. I can't remember the track.
Marysville, maybe? Or
maybe. We're in the very back of the pits and got there late. Get the bikes out, warm them up. So the 500, it would start up, and there was hardly any Works 500s that we had in the shop. So this was the only one. No parts, no real good plan, you know, just kind of winging it. But they're going to come in a helicopter, and it's going to be a big deal, and you know. So the 500 runs, but it kept shutting off like a rum roll. You know, I'm like, what the? You know, ran fine at the shop. So I'm like trying to get the thing running. And so you check the obvious, you know, all the wires plugged in, carburetor, you know, everything. Everything's fine. So I couldn't get it to run. And turns out the night before, or the Supercross, Goat crashed and broke a bunch of ribs and might have punctured a lung, and checked himself out of the hospital like only Goat would do. You know, so tough, and it's gonna ride. Got to get that.
He's
bonus.
Still coming.
Well, I just briefly heard about it. Like, what the? It's too late by the time I know anything. So I'm frantically trying to get this 500 to run. No one rides Kawasaki, so there's I can't borrow one or anything. I'm just pulling my hair out thinking, after all this, I messed up and the bike's not running. So the last minute, Goat's dad, Beecher, shows up in this soccer mom truck thing with a KX 500 in the back, his practice bike, his stock bike.
Okay.
And goes, I thought since he's hurt so bad, it'd be better if he rode this thing because it's slow and, you know. And I'm like,
that's a great idea.
I could kiss you, Beecher. I'm my hair's sticking up. I'm stressed out. I'm like, oh my God, you saved it. You know, you're my hero. So we get it out and it runs. I'm like, oh my God, it just got saved, you know. So the helicopter comes, it's a big deal, you know, all the crowd's cheering, and Morty and Goat come out, you know, and Goat's pretty messed up. So I'm telling him, hey, you know, your bike doesn't run, we're going to ride. He didn't care. So my friend, I said, you know, he was helping me in the shop. I go, you're going to take care of Morty, I got to take care of Goat. So all he had to do was finish, pretty much. And so Morty goes out and does business. I think he beat George Holland or something. And so Goat's moto, you get him on the bike. It's like, I'm like a kid with a peewee rider, you know, 50, like holding him on the line. And he takes off, and I'm running around the track in case he falls down. You know, I got to pick him up. And he ends up doing whatever and wins the...
Got it done.
But I would have failed if it wasn't for his dad. And then all those years, whenever I see his dad, I just go, man, you're my hero. You saved me.
Did you ever figure out what was wrong with the bike?
The stator went out.
Oh, okay.
Electrical went out. And
nothing you can do about that.
Nothing you can do. And I had no spares because there weren't any, and I wasn't thinking. Well, I kicked the thing so many times, and it would pop back. I broke the Kickstarter shaft off.
Oh, you did?
So the whole shaft, half the shaft with the lever and everything just went flying in the dirt. You know.
Oh boy.
I did everything before his dad showed up for that bike. But
stressful. One of your most stressful moments.
Oh,
I mean, you wrote it in your notes, so I believe it's got to be.
And Goat laughs about it today, but I'm like, it's still not funny to me. I almost let you down, you know. And
I don't know if people know what a badass Goat was. Like, I don't know if there's anyone tougher than that guy.
No.
I don't know, maybe I've told the story before. I broke my femur one year riding for Mitch, and my mechanic, Randy Lawrence, I'm staying with him. Goat comes over to visit me, and he has this electronic stim unit. You like wet these pads and put them on you, whatever. And he and Randy are doing this was, Goats. He goes, hey, let's put them on the bottom of our feet and see who can take the most voltage. So they're turning it up, their feet are arching, and they're like, ah. And I'm on the couch laid up with a broken femur, and he sticks them on my feet. All right, Ping, you're up next. I'm all, Goat, no. And he's messing with me. But those guys would do the dumbest stuff.
Goat was...
He almost liked to see how much pain he could,
Had the most fun with Goat.
Oh,
and
he's
and
the
he
best.
even said, if I ever won a championship, we would have the best time ever,
Yeah.
And I helped him do the Elsinore races when he put those on, and hung out with him. And we just have a blast, at night, hanging out, talking. And he would just wing it like that race. A lot of it, stuff's going on. He just, whatever. It'll fix itself. And
He's a legend.
great guy.
I wish I could get him to come on this show. He just refuses to do interviews,
One time, here's a story. Like they had a 30th anniversary of On Any Sunday or something.
Okay.
It was a fundraiser for pediatric brain tumors or something.
Okay.
Everybody's coming, and they sold out the Newport Theater. It's like the biggest theater west of the Mississippi. And Bruce Brown's bringing the original On Any Sunday tape, and he's going to stick it up and play it. All the people in the movie. I mean, it's huge. And Rick Ash's daughter, Carla, had a brain tumor, so we were doing a big fundraiser there. So Goat, of course, shows up. Him and Rick are real close. So we're hanging out, and Bruce Brown's walking through the pits with Malcolm and maybe Mert, and he's just got there with the tape. And Goat's like intimidated, like, that's Bruce Brown. I got to get his autograph. And I'm looking at Goat and thinking, he's scared to go asking for I've never seen Goat like that. So, of course, I push him that way. And we're waiting in line, and he walks up and he says, Mr. Brown, I think he Todd Brecker, and is it possible to get your autograph? And Bruce Brown looks at him. What's up? I know who you are. You're Goat Brecker. You don't think I follow the races and all? Give me that thing. Signs it for him and hands it to him. Goat was like so happy, But
He's a sweetheart.
yeah.
Okay, tell me some of the coolest parts you ever got or worked with, or maybe something you guys built. If you had to narrow it down to one thing.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if we could. The works parts were so special. Kawasaki, we'll just name it. I can't think of one, but because of the aircraft side of the heavy industries, they were really into magnesium. So we had probably more magnesium parts than the other factories, triple clamps and side cases and stuff like that. But yeah, it's hard to say. There's so many cool things, brake calipers, magnesium brake calipers.
Yeah, you guys did have a lot of magnesium now that I think about it. Kawasaki did.
Yeah, more than normal. And occasionally some of it broke, but I used to have a shelf with all the broken bits, But one of the cooler things maybe was being a kind of a history buff. BSA in the 60s made a titanium motorcycle for Jeff Smith for the 500 Grand Prix. So titanium frame, magnesium parts. It was really lightweight. So titanium was pretty much aircraft only back then. And the titanium spokes. They made this thing, and it, of course, broke down a lot. And they put steel pieces back on it so we could. But it always stuck in my mind, like, they made titanium spokes. Why is there 36 spokes on a wheel, and it's been that way forever from 40? Can't it be like a bicycle, 32 or something? So I asked KHI about making titanium spokes. Oh, they're thinking about it. So they did. They made tie front spokes, tie rear spokes. And when we laced up the wheels, the thing was so light. Compare, you get a 36 spokes.
Steel's heavy.
Tie, you're like, whoa. And so the laced up wheel with the billet hub and the nice rim stuff, it was feather light. So the rear one, we were putting the tire on. I had a shop helper was putting the tire on. I get an email or something from Japan, and it says, don't use the rear spokes, right? They broke some.
Oh.
So at the same time the guy's putting the tire on in the shop, he comes running back. I just broke the spokes. He did something, whacked it with the tire, something, and they went broke. So I said, well, that's weird because they just told us not to do it. So then we tapped them with a hammer or something, and tink, 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 the heads are.
They start breaking off?
Yeah, it was too much of a bend or something. But the fronts worked fine, and we used them for years.
Oh, really?
And I'm not sure people really knew because they look similar. But yeah, all through the Emig and era, up into the Carmichael era. Even we had Mitch use them at some point, but they quit doing it because of the cost. But durability wise, they were every bit as good as a steel one. But maybe that's one of the cooler things, but because it was me pushing them,
Yeah.
based on that BSA.
Yeah.
That was only a couple of those built, and one of them, a friend of mine, has one. He got all the parts from England. Took him, I don't know, 6 or 8 years or more to get everything correct on the bike and had it all restored.
And he has it?
He has it and brought it to Trailblazers for the bike show last year and won Best of Show, and all the BSA experts were just dumbfounded, like, no one knew it existed. Here it is,
Well, speaking of cool history, you have a really cool piece of moto history, motorcycle history, let's say. So if anyone's seen the Top Gun sequel, Maverick, he's riding like a vintage Ninja meant to look like the original one in the original Top Gun. That's your bike.
That is my bike. Part of what I do nowadays is Kawasaki has a museum, Heritage Hall they call it. So I'm the curator of the museum. They dug me out of somewhere and it came back, and I take care of all their museum needs, all the archives, anything old they run through me because I pretty much was there. And we have 100 bikes over the years that I helped collect. Championship motocross bikes, road race street bikes, jet skis, snowmobile, and we use them for different displays and different museums and all that. So of course, when they were filming that movie, the Top Gun 2, they came to Kawasaki because they wanted one of those bikes. The original bike from '86 or whatever it was is gone. No one knows where it is. So Kawasaki made a deal to be involved in the movie. So first they called me and said, we need a '84 Ninja. Well, we have one in the museum, but it's frame number 1, never been started, 0 miles. You're not taking that. You can't, no way. And we had another one that I had restored that, believe it or not, was supposed to go to the Smithsonian for a display on motorcycles. I go, we kind of promised the Smithsonian that bike, so we don't really have one, but I'll find one or whatever. So they don't show up that often, but I found one on All Things Craigslist, right? So I went down to look at it, and it was a runner and all there, and I bought it off the guy. So it became my bike. I said, well, how much time do we have for this project? I'll make it look just like the original, because it was painted differently. It was painted to not look like a Kawasaki production bike. So I did all the research on the paint, got all photos from the original movie, and striped it all out. And we sent it off to a painter that charged way too much money to paint it all, but did a beautiful job. I powder coated the wheels. I put all these brand new parts on it that were in stock, new windshield, new this, new that. So it was beautifully restored with the paint scheme from the original movie.
But it was like patinaed a little bit too, right?
No,
it wasn't?
It was gorgeous.
Oh, okay.
And it ran. It was a little weak, but it ran. Off to the movie it went, off to the studio, and I had to sign contracts and stuff. And
you got paid for them to use it?
No, I said, as long as I get something that says it was in the movie, that's all I want.
Okay.
I go, you can throw it off a cliff or bomb it from the air. As long as I get that piece of paper that says this bike was in the movie, so I could sell it at some point. So the movie, and they used new product, new H2 Ninjas that were going to be in the scene as well, and they took care of all that. So I had to sign all these contracts and secret. You couldn't talk about it. It was like a secret code name for the movie. I mean, it was gnarly.
Huh.
Then COVID hits, and it gets postponed. And long story short, the bike's gone for 2 or 3 years. And when the movie's all done, they were looking for another one. So the studio always wants 2 or at least 3 of everything for different shots. So they wanted a bike to ride, one for still shots, and then a spare. So they found another one, had it painted like mine, copied mine exactly. And then, so years went by. They bring the bike back, and I'm like, that's not my bike. Like, what the heck is? It's all patinaed out. The studio painted over the paint, like sprayed this dirty looking black on it, dust looking, scratched it all up, made it look like 35 years old or something, and stickers on it, and I couldn't tell it was my bike. I look at the serial number, and I'm like, that is my bike.
Oh man. But
I don't care, it's why did I spend so much time making it look so nice? But, so yeah, they did some other things in the movie where they came down to the museum and we took different products and put in his hangar, the start of the movie. There's some Kawasaki's in the background. You'll see one of them's Danny Hamill's desert bike or something.
Is that right?
Yeah, something's KX500 in the background and a road race bike, kind of some weird stuff. But, so my bike got used for all the still photography. So when he takes the sheet off the thing, that's my bike.
Yeah.
And then, so, of course, I want to sell it. So Kawasaki was like, oh, well, you can't do, they want to buy it or whatever. So I said, well, make me an offer, because otherwise I'm taking it to Mecum. I ended up with my letter that I needed, proving it was in the movie and stuff. So right now we're in negotiations.
Good for you.
Yeah, once in a while you got to hit a home run.
Yeah.
I told them, this is my big deal. It's like most of my deals, I'm like Charlie Brown kicking the football.
Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe this will work out. The other 2 bikes that were in the movie, the newer bikes, are in the collection, so it belongs with those. Mm-hmm. And it did go over to Japan.
Oh, really?
For the Kawasaki Museum over there. It went to Italy for the EICMA show. So it's traveled the world kind of.
Wow. As
the Top Gun bike.
That's cool.
And it's time to move on. So
write a check.
Yeah. I've got I have over 50 motorcycles.
Well, that's my next question. I know you've got a rare collection of vintage bikes and things that mean a lot to you. Tell me about that collection. I mean, what are some of your favorites there?
Yeah, I started, a long time ago when you could get them for free, Right. You want an old dirt bike? I got this old Mako on the side of the... Yeah. I'll take it. So when I work at Cali, if I had a free moment, or I was kind of single at the time, so I would work till midnight or something. I'd work on vintage bikes for the last few hours, restore them, paint them in the paint booth, fix them up. So I was popping out a bunch. So I've got a great Kawasaki collection. I got a lot of early motocross stuff. I vintage raced for years, so I have Elsinores and Bultaco, like I raced when I was a kid, and, a bunch of stuff. Did a lot of the early vintage races. It was so much fun. Won the Elsinore Grand Prix in the vintage class on an Elsinore.
Okay.
Which I think is the first time an Elsinore actually won the Elsinore Grand Prix.
That's cool. Nice little footnote.
Yeah. And I don't know how that happened because it was a 125 and the guy broke down way in the lead. And the next thing you know, I'm leading this thing.
That's awesome.
I'm going to win. So, yeah, I have 50 bikes, 4 or 5 jet skis, a lot of mini bikes, of course, from the mini bike days. I have the McCullough-powered Zebra that tried to kill me.
Oh, my gosh. The one?
No, I put a replica together
Okay.
in the shop, and I remember the mechanics were all laughing, like, what is that stupid thing? And
You should have sent him down the street on it.
Yeah.
Go, you try it.
Jeremy Albrecht I go, wait till I fire this thing up, and I fired it up, and they were all just like, oh my God, shut it off, 'cause
Super loud.
so loud, short stroke, just those McCullough motors were,
Yeah.
you could hang 4 carburetors on them on a single cylinder and run them on alcohol, and they'd go, I think they took one to Bonneville back in the 60s with a mini bike, stretched out mini bike. 90-something, 98 miles an hour or something.
Oh, my gosh. Just jump off a bridge. It was a
Yeah.
quicker death.
Yeah. So big collection keeps me. I'm still collecting.
What's your favorite?
I
You can only save one. Building's burning down.
my Taco mini bike.
Really?
Yeah. I get on that thing and ride it, and I feel like I'm 9 years old in Laguna Hills.
That's awesome.
And it does wheel. I can do wheelies on it, and just the sound of it. The
Sort of,
lawnmower motor and
yeah.
the clutch is clanking, and it's just it's just I love that thing.
Takes you back in time a little bit.
It was always at my desk at Cowie, and then when someone would come for a delivery or something at the back gate, fire it up, ride it down there, and let them in the gate.
Yeah. So you've been with Mitch now for, 10 years?
Almost 10 years.
Yeah. I know you've got a good Mitch Payton story. I know you have a lot. Give us one good one.
The guy's amazing. I gotta say, he just lives for the sport and the business, and he's constantly thinking and changing and trying things, helping people. It's like absolutely amazing. But if you ever get on the bad side of him,
Ooh. No.
which now he's really mellow, but
No, but he still gets ornery.
yeah,
It was his birthday the other day, and I swung by the shop to drop off my old 86.
Uh-huh.
He's going to just do the carburetor on it. And I'm like, hey, happy birthday, buddy. And he just kind of barely looks at me, and he's just back to, I'm like, oh, okay, it's one of those days. I'm out of here.
Yeah, a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
But he, 93 or so, shortly after he went to Kawasaki's, he was kind of through Team Green at first.
Mm-hmm.
They supported him, and then it was pretty much determined that it had to go through the professional racing side. Like Team Green was amateur, Team Kawasaki, let's say, was the pro side. So it was going to be budgeted under the pro side, which meant I had to deal with all their parts, and I was stressed out with what I was already doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, are you kidding? I got to take care of, all that as well. And, he's hard to work with. And I was kind of dreading it. And then, we did what needed to be done and everything. But he was always working on pipes, trying to make a better pipe for our team, get the pipes on our team, which we didn't have a pipe sponsorship. So we could use whatever. And we tested a lot of stuff. And he was always, if we had a good KHI pipe, he wanted to copy it and everything. But a lot of times it's like, no, that's theirs. This is yours. So so Loracco couldn't get a start to save his life, right? So in Europe, there was a team, Jondegert's team, they ran a pipe called a Spes pipe.
I remember this.
So he sent some over, and we tried them, and it was like, wow, these things really work. And Loracco loved it. I want to race with it. So, okay, so he's going to race with it. So Mitch kind of found out, I'll build you something better. Just give me the pipe so I have something to work off. Which, yeah, I get it. That's how you do it, but not when you're sworn confidentiality to spec or whatever. So you can't do that. So it's kind of a battle, and LaRocco's racing the pipe, and Mitch is mad at me. And I was getting frustrated, and I wrote something to Turner, about, Mitch is, doing this, and I'm not giving him that pipe, and we can run whatever pipe we want, and we don't need this or from him, or kind of venting a little bit. And Roy thought it was funny and faxed it to Mitch.
Oh, no.
And he got so upset, right? And, he wouldn't talk to me. He's, screaming, blah, blah. So to make it worse, LaRocco hole shots, and it was either a magazine or Cycle News or something. Washoe first turn, he's hole shot, and it's the pipe side with a colored picture of the pipe with the Spec logo.
Might as well
on
be
it.
an ad for them, yeah.
So that lit him up, right? So it took a long time to kind of get back on track with him, but he kept the letter. The little fax thing, he kept it. And he would pull that out at the weirdest times. Like, come here, I got to talk to you. I'm like, what? What's going on? And he'd show me the spec letter. And I'm like, oh, man, get over it, So he doesn't know where it is now, because we talk about it all the time. But a while back, he calls me down in the front. You got to come down here right now. Someone I want you to meet. Oh, okay. So I go down there. There's a guy sitting in his office. And he's like, have you ever met Mr. whatever? I'm like, no? Or maybe? He's the one that makes the spec pipes. And I'm just like, oh. I shake his hands, and then, we laughed our ass off.
That's so Mitch.
Yeah, the guy, the pipes became some other pipe company in Europe and stuff. But eventually he built a better pipe for LaRocco or something. But the damage was done.
But I mean, he hired you. What does that say?
Oh, we we always get along great. I always took care of him, the team. When you were on it, whatever it took for that side, the parts all came through me. The constant complaining about if something was wrong, it went through me. I had to present it to Japan in such a way to make a part that's better, and I took care of the pro circuit side. So actually, when the layoffs were coming at Kawasaki in 2000, when the economy tanked,
08, 09,
yeah, they were laying off a bunch of people, and they would parade them to the HR department through the lobby right in front of my desk. I'd look out the window and see all my friends, and the phone's ringing, such and such got laid off. I'm like, man, these are all the old guard of Kawasaki. My name's on that list,
You knew.
So I'm like, this was there was like 3 different waves of layoffs. So the first one, I'm like, I'm out of here. I grabbed the keys and took off down to Mitch's. They're laying everyone off there. They're going to have to try and find me. I'm not going to be at my desk.
I'm not doing the walk of shame.
So
they probably got rid of the guys who were at the, top of the salary scale.
Yeah, it's probably illegal, but whatever. They can hire and fire. So it finally came to me, I got called in to HR and said, yeah, your job is being gotten rid of. You're no longer going to be what you do. And I just laughed at it. That's impossible. You can't have a race team without parts. I go, don't lie to me. If you're going to lay me off, just tell me that. But don't tell me that crap, So I was like shocked. And so I became like I was like an employee, and then now I'm not. And I go, okay, well, I got to get my stuff and leave. And they made me go out the front door. You can't go out that door. You can't go back to your desk. You have to call and make arrangements with your boss about picking your stuff up. I'm like, after 30, come on.
Wow.
So I walk out the door, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot my hoodies in the HR. So I walk back in. The security guard's like, hey, Norm, you're back. Yeah. So I open the door into the HR department to get my jacket, and they're all in there huddled because, Norm got laid off. And the door opens, and they think I got a weapon or something. They're all looking at me like scared. And I go, I'm just getting my jacket.
Jeez.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So after that, that was a big change in my life. And my parents are in their 90s. So I took time off. And I had a package deal. They took care of me. So I helped take care of my parents for 10 years.
Yeah.
Caregiver, and then working odd jobs, unemployment. Mitch reached out, and I told him I'll work for free for one day as long as I can store like 100 motorcycles somewhere. So,
well, were all your bikes at Kawasaki?
A lot of them were.
Oh, okay.
I needed a place for it, so I made a deal with him for like 12 bikes, just temporarily, right? I'll store them here and work a day for free. He thought I was nuts, So I did that for a while, and he goes, just work here for whatever you want, 3 days. So I'll do that. So I worked 3 days a week there, taking care of my parents. The bikes that were there temporarily are still there today.
Yeah.
I never moved them or nothing, but I told myself the end of this year, I'm done. I'm retiring.
Yeah?
At least for one of my jobs. So I'll be
Which one?
the pro circuit.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna leave there, and I don't want to leave them hanging. So I'm getting everything set up for somebody else to do the job or whatever, and slowly taking the bikes out.
Gotcha.
For storage.
So what will you do in retirement?
Whatever I want.
Yeah, I guess
people say that, but I do so many things. I go so many directions, that I can't wait. To have 3 extra days to go surfing or jet skiing. Or
how old are you now? If you don't mind me asking.
I'll be 70 here pretty soon.
Okay.
And
yeah, you've been on the grind for a long time.
And I've always done more than I can handle. I'll do. I can do 12 things right, but ask me to do 13, and I'll screw something up.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I didn't know you were planning on calling it quits. Good for you, and congrats.
Mitch thinks I'm lying because I said it before and didn't leave. But yeah, I'm
for sure.
I do have an 8-year-old adopted son.
Okay.
And he needs a dad in his life,
Yeah.
So it's a long story with my girlfriend of many years, Debbie. Her daughter got caught up in all the opiate situation and had a child, and healthy child. So we watched real close, making sure the situation would be good, and it wasn't. Mm-hmm. So we kind of took him when he was 1 year old, and he's getting close to 9 now. So I'm it. I got the pink. We finally legally got an adoption, so I got the pink slip on him. And I'm a soccer dad.
That's what I hear, because I know Wardy's kid, his daughter played collegiate soccer. Mine is looking that direction. Soccer's been our whole life since we were pretty young, so the grind.
I can't move. I got 2 fake hips and bad knees, and I'm trying to play with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, why couldn't you be in my life 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I'll show you some moves, but right now he just laughs at me and scores on me. He's a good kid, so that's
awesome. I love that you guys are doing that. Well, tell me a little bit about, because one of your passions, and I assume this is something you'll continue to do, is your involvement with the Trailblazers organization. So for folks who maybe don't know what that is, tell us a little bit about that and kind of what you do there and what the goal is. you invited me a couple years back, and we had a ball, my wife and I.
It's
Very cool.
I'd always heard about Trailblazers through, there's a group of guys I rode with for 20 years in Mexico, trail ride. I did a lot of trail riding, dual sporting, racing. I was done with it. But dual sporting, trail riding was almost worse than racing, like the injury, you know.
Yeah.
At least you got hurt and you were hundreds of miles from help, you know. So these guys always talked about Trailblazers, and I was like, what do you talk? So I went to a few events, and it's a gathering of the old-time industry people, mostly racers at this point. And once a year they get together and have a banquet, almost like a high school reunion, but it's motorcycle people, industry heavyweights. It started back in the 40s, and
Did it? It goes back that far.
this will be the 80th or somewhat end. The war and COVID kind of messed it up, but the 80th time of the banquet. It's basically a Southern California kind of club. It's real small. During certain years, I went to a couple that were in the parking lot at the Del Mar Mile, you know, the 5-track mile. And then you kind of had hot dogs and some beers, and then you went inside and someone did interviews with some of the old, at that point I remember one of them was a board track racer, and he was still alive. I think his name was Davis. And it was this I like history, so it was like, wow, it's a board track. And so I kind of went to a few events here and there, and then my friendship with Tom White, his museum, he'd do those burgers. I was the cook. Me and another friend of mine, Brian Farnsworth, we did all the hamburgers for 200 or 100 people or more at his events with Tom. And Tom was a trailblazer, so he got me to come to some of the more current stuff, which were big crowds. And then he was on the board of directors. Next thing you know, I'm on the board of directors. And Don Emdy's the president, who does an unbelievable job. He does all the work, and it's all volunteers. Our board of directors is 12 of us, and we put this banquet together every year, and now it's getting too popular to where we've outgrown the space. We have this year we'll have 700 people in this Civic Center in Carson, right near Ascot. A lot of the Ascot veterans and road racers and stuff. So it's kind of in the shadow of Ascot. And now, over the years, the Hall of Fame it's been working towards motocross. The dirt trackers are kind of run their course, the desert guys, and it's the early motocross guys getting inducted.
That's the neat part as a motocross fan. You know, when you look back and they're just honoring sort of the flat track guys and scrambles guys, it's like, if you're a little younger, you don't really know or connect with that.
Yeah.
But now it's like you said, now we're getting into the motocross guys are founders, or the old guys getting inducted in. And so now it becomes a little more interesting for moto.
And each year it's harder to pick who's going to get in the Hall of Fame. And, you know, you learn about different sides of the industry. So we try and be fair and pick someone like Speedway a little bit and keep everybody happy. And so because of all my motocross background, I was lucky enough to be at the beginnings of SoCal motocross. And so a lot of it's through me. You know, what about somebody, you know, you'll see his resume for the Hall of Fame. You want to go like Jeremy McGaff or Jeff, but then it's a club. So you have to come to the events to be part of the club to be inducted. So recently Roger got inducted, but not right off the bat. He had to prove himself, you know, come to a few events, which he did, and really enjoyed it. He even told me, he says, this is one of the best events you've ever been to, you know. which makes us all feel good because we're just a bunch of misfits trying to get this
Yeah.
banquet together. And me and Don, I ended up becoming the vice president just because I was doing a lot with Don and we live close by. So we're, we have to, get the money for the tickets, to pay for the caterer, to pay for the bit. There's a lot going on.
It's a whole ordeal. It's a beautiful collection of bikes that you guys have there every year, and you do a bike competition,
Yeah, and Tom White was the bike show guy, right? So I would help him judge or whatever. But one thing I don't like doing is bike shows. I don't like telling people your bike's not good enough to win.
Yours is better than yours.
Yeah, I've seen fights break out and people scream, and it's like, it's good that they're all there, but we have to pick a winner. So when Tom passed on, I became the bike show guy, which it's not really what I want to do, but I'll do it. So I've been running the bike show for quite a bit of time. So, and the stuff that shows up at that show is amazing.
Beautiful.
Because the real guys in the industry, the trailblazers, they bring their bikes. So Eddie Lawson brought his 500, his Grand Prix bike, or his flat tracker he won the novice championship on. Dave Aldana's Ascot Norton's there. The Jeff Smith Titanium. So you don't see that at most shows.
No, it's very rare.
And we give really good trophies out, like big, giant trophies, and it's you get one of those Trailblazers bike show trophies, and you're
you've done good
showing
work.
off. Yeah.
Well,
so this year, it's Bruce McDougall, who I'm not. Bruce?
I know.
Okay.
I didn't ever meet him, but Southern California legend.
Legend.
Yeah.
He won CMC.
Factory Honda briefly.
Factory Yamaha, second to Marty Smith. He won 130 races between the early 70s and the mid 70s. Local.
Mm-hmm.
Every week was racing Pentons and stuff. So he's getting inducted. Roy Turner's getting inducted for.
Good for him.
We kind of get a mechanic or a team manager, kind of put a spot for them. Speedway, we have Eddie Castro, Steve Baker, who won the 750 World Championship road race.
Okay.
First American to win a road race championship. Most think of Kenny Roberts, but he did it first. Don Amdy's getting the big award for the 80th for keeping this thing going all those years.
Good for him.
JT Racing.
Oh,
John
and Rita?
They're getting
Oh.
Trying to think. I didn't write down everybody, but you get the picture.
No, it's awesome.
And then we do a professional video. Here's your life, 3 minutes of your life, then interview and speeches and a nice dinner and everything. So
it's a really fun event. Like I said, my wife and I went, and I think she stole your jacket.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, we wear these like
it's
funny
like a
jackets.
It's like a gold jacket like you'd get from winning the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, "Why do they have those jackets? I want one." My wife's a little bit of a wingnut.
Yeah, as a director, you have to wear the jacket, but it's the same jacket that the ushers use at the Laker games. So I'm like, man, I can get in the Laker game for free. Well, what's funny is the AMA Hall of Fame. We're always like not competition with them, but the AMA Hall of Fame's over here doing their thing, and then they look over at the Trailblazers, and they got 700 something people going to their thing, and and we got those goofy jackets. So the last few years, the same jackets the AMA gives their Hall of Fame guys.
Oh, is that right?
They put this jacket on them with the AMA logo on it, but it's the same one as the Trailblazers.
Well, you're doing something right then. They're copying you.
But that's we make fun of ours. Our jackets are part of the jokes going around.
Well, it's awesome. I hope I can come back again this year, especially if I sat at Mitch's table. And I mean, that's the place to be.
Mitch got a table again.
Did he?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to bug him. See if I can.
Sold out immediately. So.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, it's March 15th. We kind of do it where there's a break in the Supercross series, so everyone can come.
Well, obviously, even with this show, I've tried to really preserve some history and get people's stories told that'll in a medium that will stay. All these legends have probably had magazine articles written about them, but where are they now? And so that's the thing I like about this. But I think that our sport in general does not do a good job of appreciating the past and the guys who've paved the way, the guys whose shoulders we're standing on. And so you guys, I love what you're doing there. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, we get it done in the YouTube videos of and go out there, but we need to do a better job as Trailblazers to get the stuff archived somewhere, because this goes back to the 40s,
That's crazy, I know. And you are preserving history. If you can get it onto a digital platform, then it'll last as long as the internet lasts.
Well, maybe that's something you can do for us.
Well, you talk to my producer, Nate, over here. He might be able to help you out.
The pay is really bad.
All right, so this is our Seat Concepts hot seat question. Don't panic, it's nothing bad.
Uh-oh.
Seat Concepts makes the best seats in motorcycling, especially dual sport, off-road, if you're riding long time, adventure seats. Amazing stuff. Check them out. Who isn't in the Trailblazers Hall of Fame who should be right now? If you had to pick a guy or two.
Easy. I'm working on it.
Okay.
It's Jeff Ward.
Yeah.
He has to go to a few more events. He's supposed to come a few years. I got him a ticket, and he got COVID the day before or something. And then last year he had some excuse, like he had brain surgery or something. But it's always whatever the date is. He's been the one that had a blast.
Yeah.
And then there's always something that comes up at that date,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he swears he's coming this year for Roy, of course. And
his old team manager's got to be there for that.
got to be there.
Yeah.
And Roy inducted him into the Motorsports Hall of Fame. So he swears he's coming. And then he's a shoe-in.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, he's the Dick Man, the current Dick Man of motorcycling. Like, Dick Man could ride anything, everything, ride the wheels off of a motorcycle. And Wardy's right there at that level.
Oh, yeah. Drive it, ride it.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
Dick Man's one of my heroes. And the early days of vintage racing, Dick put a lot of events on. And at one event in Oregon, he was putting the race on, and my buddy lives in Oregon, John Durhammer, an old CMC guy. We went up there and brought him a bike, and we were going to race, and he was cooking breakfast in the morning. And something we missed practice, and there's one more practice, so we went out into it, and it was the old-timer practice, and we weren't quite old-timers yet. And we were racing around. There's hardly 10 people on the track. And Dick Man comes flying by. And John was a fast CMC pro. Dick Man comes flying by both of us on a 650 Triumph. Showered us with rocks. Like, whoa, what's going on? Just, and I'm like, what the? And he's going like 100, right? So we get off the track, and he's waiting for me. And he starts yelling at me that we were going too fast and we were in the wrong practice. What the hell? You didn't want to get Dick Man mad at you.
He passed you and then yelled at you for
So I brought that up. I said, well, Dick, you passed us. And that made him more mad. I said, okay, I will never, ever do it again. I promise you, And I was so proud, even today, thinking, Dick Man yelled at me,
That's hilarious. Was there you've seen this sport from so many different eras, intimately, up close and personally. What so far, what was kind of your favorite era, your favorite window?
It's got to be the works bike era. The things
80 to 85.
Yeah, the things that were happening so fast with the development of the bikes. And I mean, months. Sometimes you'd start out with this bike, and then next thing you know, here's a new frame, here's a new linkage system. All that changing so fast. And tuning on it with the changes, you know, and then you know that led into water cooling. So single shock to water cooling.
Disc brakes.
Kawasaki has
power valves.
Some of the first disc brakes. Power valve, then cartridge 4. You know, all that kind of stuff was all happening. And it was leveling off. Like the travel became a certain area. It wasn't going to 10 feet, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Mako was trying.
Yeah.
They were, you know, like getting on a horse.
Yeah, it was all kind of calming down, and the racing there were so many good guys. The tracks, Supercross was getting brutal. It was just a good era to be in. And yeah, it was just exciting watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's been great racing eras, McGrath and Carmichael and Stewart and Reed, and those are really fun to watch racing. But when you look at the totality of it, like the sport improving in every facet and the level of competition, you know, that was a really cool era. And the works bikes, which we'll just never have again.
And one of the things I'm kind of proud of too is with Roy Turner, you know, we would brainstorm a lot, and Roy was really innovative, you know, and kind of ahead of the program. So we came up with the semi. You know, that was his dream. Like because Honda had a big truck when he was there, and he's like, man, if we have a semi, we can, you know, save money. We can kind of show up at the races and be King Tut, you know. No one else will have one. Promoters will be all excited. TV will want to cover it. The riders will want to race for us. So we worked together on that, brainstorming, like, can we do it? What's it going to take? Are we going to get fired if it doesn't work, you know? And every time we crunched the numbers or whatever, it was like either as good or better. So we did it, you know. We got the first semi on the road, and we knew that it would be a few years before someone else would get one because of the lead time in making them and all that. So we were, for a couple of years, we were it.
What year was that? Was it 91, 92?
Yeah, I think somewhere in there.
Because Yamaha's was like maybe 94,
a little later,
93, 94, yeah.
But we got so we had to find a driver, so we got through a friend of mine at Honda. He was friends with George Ellis, Jimmy Ellis's dad. He drove trucks, and he was kind of a Marine and no-nonsense guy. He'd be perfect for keeping everyone under control. So we called him up, and he just got laid off and was retiring. I said, you want a job? Heck yeah. So he became our first truck driver. Did a great job for all those years. And the first paint scheme, we had all our clothes kind of done. So Troy's friend was painting it and everything. So we George and I went to go pick it up at the paint shop, and we pull up, and there's this beautiful, you know, painted semi. And I'm like, oh no. George said, what? They painted it backwards, like the green stripes down here and the blue ones up here. It's supposed to be the green and the blue switched. And George's like, we're taking it. Don't bring it up. Don't tell. You know, I mean, don't bring it up. Roy's going to see that. But we didn't figure it out. It was too late. So all our clothes were the backwards logo.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, you would never notice it. But it was, every time I see the big poster that we had, I just laugh.
You cringe because it's like, ugh.
The paint job was backwards.
That's hilarious. What do you do for fun these days?
Soccer.
Yeah.
No.
You teaching your boy to surf?
Not yet. He's or ride. He's kind of finding his own way to go.
Okay.
And thinking of all the injuries, you know, I'm like, man, I can't see that happening, because he'd be a good motorcycle racer, because he's kind of a loner and kind of aggressive. And he's pretty talented with soccer. I'm like, man, he's got the makings of a good motorcycle racer.
Yeah.
But I think I'll hold off till maybe he starts getting in trouble or something, and then we'll introduce a motorcycle. But we go for rides double sometimes. So,
do you have other kids?
No.
Okay.
I was never married.
Yeah.
So I'm still not married. We just have lived together for 20 years.
Okay.
In sin, I guess. I don't know. But
well, so this is like a cool, you're getting to experience something you didn't.
Yeah, and all the times all my friends were married and have kids, and let's go to the river. No, I got to do, you loser. And now I see why they couldn't go.
Now you get it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my excitement. I'm still restoring bikes. I'm going to sell a lot of them off.
Are you?
Yeah.
Where will you sell them?
The Mecum auction.
Oh, Mecum, okay.
Is a good place. It's kind of fun, and I usually go. Last 15, 20 years I've gone to the auction just to watch. And now it's so big, there's like 2,000 motorcycles that they auction off. So, yeah, I don't know. And I've still, got the museum job at Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Trailblazer job going here.
Oh, you're plenty busy. There's no question. Well, our last question we ask everybody, it's kind of the legacy question. How do you want to be remembered in the sport?
Just remembered.
just period.
Yeah. There's nothing fancy. Just I was there.
Yeah.
And tried to help, like Steve Johnson told me, help the Kawasaki riders, but I help anybody I want to,
Well, I'll tell you what, everyone I talk to in the industry and your name comes up, nobody's got anything but good stuff to say about you. And I think that says a lot.
Well, you got to find some of the women to get the bad stuff.
Oh, boy. All right.
No, I'm just kidding. I try to be that guy. But yeah, there's a few moments where if I do lose it, it's pretty entertaining to watch.
I think everybody's entitled to 2 or 3 come-aparts a year, and it shouldn't be held against you.
That's right.
We all reach that point. Well, congrats on a heck of a career.
Right.
If you really do call it quits this year, we'll see.
You have to watch.
It's been an amazing career, man, and it's so fun to go through and hear some of your stories. So thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoy that you do these, and I listen to a lot of them, and they're great. Hope I don't mess them up.
Oh, no, it was a blast. Thanks so much. Stick around, guys. We'll be back to wrap up the show here just in a second. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that show with Norm. What a great guy. This guy's been around. And you want to talk about a dude that's been there and seen that. I mean, we just scratched the surface with what he's seen, the different eras that he's been around. It's so cool to talk with a guy that's seen our sport from the very beginning and is still involved. I just love it. So great guy. Sure appreciate him taking the time to come in. As always, folks, just please support the folks that support us to keep this show coming to you. That starts with Yamaha, which is so easy because they're cranking out the best products. Their 4-stroke bikes are unrivaled, whether it's the motocross version or the X. The X models are unbelievable. I think it's the most versatile motorcycle ever. If you're a guy who likes to moto and off-road, it's just a no-brainer. It's so easy. And their 2-strokes are, I still think those are the benchmark for all-around chassis, handling, componentry, rideability, fun. They make great stuff up and down the board. Jet skis even, if you're, or watercraft. The Super Jet's unreal if you haven't ridden one of those new ones. So anyway, we appreciate Yamaha and their support of this show. Nihilo Concepts, SKDA, Dunlop, all of them. Everybody on this board here behind me, boy, thank you so much to those guys. And the only way we keep that coming is if you guys purchase those products and make it worth their while. So thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a lot of great shows coming up here to wrap up the year. Stay with us. Stick around. We'll see you next time.
Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart.
Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear. They've got the brand new Scout line in GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. SKDA is a moto graphics and seat covers company with several offices based around the globe. For too long, bikes and graphics have all looked the same. They just start to blend together. SKDA is working to change that. With super clean and unique design work, a bike with SKDA graphics stands out in a crowd and adds a touch of art to the world of moto. Hey, we need that. SKDA prides itself on providing premium customer service both before and after the sale is made. Visit SKDA online to view the current product range and get in touch with their team to get your bike refreshed. I want to just make a mention here that these guys, not only is their design way outside the box, very, very cool, they'll work with you on custom things. The products are incredible. Okay, they'll speak for themselves. But what's really awesome, and you'll notice this the minute you order one of these, man, they give you an email saying, hey, the product's been shipped. Hey, the product is here. It landed in this spot. Hey, it's coming today. Hey, your product's been delivered. They just so good about staying in touch with you and letting you know where it's at. Customer service is 100%, and that's just something that's rare these days. Check out SKDA. Here at the Whiskey Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX-53 line and MX-33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough #1 plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. Nihilo Concepts is leading the way in aftermarket hard parts. With their secondary on-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport, they've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... If you've got a little Grom that's looking to get started in the motorcycle world, the best way to get them going is on a Stasic bike. They've got multiple sizes, so from your very young Groms to those who are a little more grown up, you can start them safely. They've got controls that allow you to control the speed so he can't get going too quick.
They can touch the ground. There's not a lot of noise to distract them. It's the perfect way to get your child involved in motorcycling at a very young age. And if you've got a kid who's already out ripping, there's series popping up all over. For those of you in Southern California, go to www.ameminicross.com and join their local series. If you're outside of this state, contact your local track and ask them about starting a STASIC class at your local track. Get over to stasic.com and check out all they've got going on. And finally, last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. Go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailler's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Whiskey Throttle Show. Be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when new shows go up. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And visit whiskeythrottlemedia.com for additional content.